Chapter 1727. 1727 Chapter 1727 Successful Blackmail. I know you've set up a seal near Mo Yang's soul. Once you search his soul, it will be destroyed. Unfortunately, you've underestimated me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. His smile made the sect master of the Sky Demon sect's expression turn uglier and uglier. You're still too inexperienced to try to deceive me. Let go of Yang. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect sneered and stepped forward. Stop. One more step and I'll kill him. Lu Ming grabbed Mo Yang's neck and said coldly as he retreated. Since you don't believe me, then I'll make it public. The Tianyu demon sect is a remnant of evil spirit cult. At the bottom of the demon mountain, there's a disciplined king of evil spirit cult. There are also people from the intentionless saber sect hiding in the Tianyu demon sect. Lu Ming retreated as he spoke, his voice reverberating throughout the entire venue. As soon as he said that, the entire place fell silent. Many people's eyes widened in shock as they looked at the sect master of the Sky Demon sect. Tianyu demonic sect was actually evil spirit religion's remnant. Was that for real? Boom! The sect master of the Tianshan sect glowed with holy light as he looked at the sect master of the Sky Demon sect coldly. Is Lu Ming's words true? Nonsense! How could you believe such a clumsy plan to sow discord? The Sky Demon sect master said coldly, his face extremely gloomy. The sect master of the Tianshan sect's expression kept changing. Perhaps this was really Lu Ming's plan to sow discord. If I want to verify whether it's true or not, I just have to search Mo Yang's soul again on the spot and project the images in his memories. Wouldn't that make things clear? Everyone, do you want to see it? That's very exciting. Lu Ming smiled. Then, he lifted Mo Yang up and pointed at the space between his eyebrows, as if he was going to search his soul again. What do you want to do? If you want to harm Yang you're courting death. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect bellowed as he swiped his claw out. A gigantic demonic claw formed and swiped at Lu Ming. The demonic claw emitted a terrifying engine. It wanted to kill Lu Ming and Mo Yang together and destroy the evidence. Whoosh! High in the sky, a dazzling sword light slashed down, splitting the demonic claw in half. The sword light converged, and a figure appeared beside Lu Ming. It was the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. What's wrong? You want to silence me, afraid that your evil spirit religion will be exposed? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Yin Ruoxu, you're here. Everyone, let's attack together and kill them. Then we'll destroy Dragon God Valley. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shouted. I think we should first search Mo Yang's soul and see what's going on. The sect master of the Heavenly God sect said coldly, although he really wanted to kill Lu Ming and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. He could only put Lu Ming aside for the time being when it came to the evil spirit cult. If the Tianyu demonic sect was really evil spirit's remnant, and what Lu Ming said was true, then the matter would be serious. It was obvious that the Tianyu demon sect was using them as a tool to incite internal strife in the Tsang region. If they were not careful, the Tianshan sect would be destroyed. Such a big matter had to be cleared up first. That's right. I'll search their souls first. If Lu Ming's words are false, it won't be too late to kill them then. The Jiuxiao sword sect leader said. The Grandmaster of the Sky Demon sect's expression changed. Then he said coldly, all right, let them search our souls. We'll kill them after we've proven the Sky Demon sect's innocence. Lu Ming searched their souls. The Grandmaster of the Sky Demon sect retreated, and his expression returned to normal. He had a clear conscience. All right, Master. You can search his soul and project the image. Lu Ming said to Cloud Dragon Valley Master as he mentioned Mo Yang. All right, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master nodded and reached out to touch Mo Yang's forehead. Do it. At this moment, the sect master of the Sky Demon sect suddenly roared and attacked. He struck his palm at the sect master of the Tianshan sect beside him. At the same time, countless people in the crowd made their moves. Terrifying attacks were launched at the people around them. The sect master of the Tianshan sect was shocked. At the critical moment, he used all his strength to block the attack of the sect master of the Sky Demon sect. However, he was forced to retreat and spit out a mouthful of blood. In his haste, it was difficult for him to completely block the other party's attack. The sect master of the Heavenly God sect was more alert, while those who were less alert were directly killed. At the scene, a series of miserable screams rang out. Ah! An unwilling roar resounded throughout the heaven and earth within the Tianshan sect. This roar came from another absolute saint of the Heavenly God sect. This time, there were 2 absolute saints from the Heavenly God sect. Beside him, the Tower Master of the Blood Demon Tower launched an attack on him. The terrifying sword light directly shattered his saint heart. The sword light burst forth, and the Supreme Saint Expert of the Tianshan sect died. In addition, the Yudu sect's experts also attacked the Evil Moon sect and Jiuxiao Sword sect's experts. The Evil Moon sect's sect master was severely injured, but fortunately, he reacted in time and was not killed. In that instant, many experts from the 3 sects were killed. Blood Demon Tower, Desire Poison sect, you are all traitors. The Heavenly God sect's sect master roared. Lu Ming is right. You are indeed evil spirits' remnants. The Grand Master of the Jiuxiao Sword sect roared. They had suffered a great loss just now. Ever since Lu Ming said that the Tianyu demonic sect was evil spirit religion's remnant, they had more or less developed a sense of wariness against the Tianyu demonic sect. However, he had never expected that the Desire Poison sect and the Blood Demon Tower were actually birds of a feather. They finally made their move. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. This was his plan. He would use the excuse of searching Mo Yang's soul to extort the Tianyu demonic sect. The plan was very successful, and the sect master of the Sky Demon sect did not dare to take the risk. However, he had not expected that the Blood Demon Tower and the Desire Poison sect were actually birds of a feather. Kill them all! The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shouted. His voice was extremely cold as he launched a storm of attacks at the sect master of the Heavenly God sect. The forces of the 3 major sects, the Tianshan sect, the Jiuxiao Sword sect, and the Evil Moon sect, had originally been very strong. They were not weaker than the Tianyu Demon sect, the Blood Demon Tower, and the Yudu sect. However, they had just been ambushed. One of the Divine sect's absolute saints was killed, the Evil Moon sect's sect master was severely injured, and the other absolute saint of the Jiuxiao Sword sect was also severely injured. They were in great danger. The only one who could maintain his peak combat strength was the sect leader of the Jiuxiao Sword sect. As for the great saints and bright saints, they had suffered even more losses. The situation was extremely unfavorable. Kill! At this time, a large number of figures rushed out from another demon mountain, killing their way over. The intentionless saber sect is indeed here. There are also people from Evil Spirit. There are 4 absolute saints. Someone cried out in alarm, revealing a look of despair. One could tell that there were 2 groups of people among the people who rushed out. One group was from the intentionless saber sect, led by 2 absolute saints. The other group was dressed in black robes, and should be experts from Evil Spirit. The 2 people leading them were also absolute saints. The people of the 3 sects, the Heavenly God sect, the Jiuxiao Sword sect, and the Evil Moon sect looked desperate. Ming-Er, take care of yourself, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said to Lu Ming. Then, he wielded his sword and charged at the Evil Spirit cultivators. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard, and the Ice Dragon Patriarch appeared. His huge dragon claws grabbed at the 2 absolute saints of the intentionless saber sect. Chapter 1728. 1728 Lu Ming beheads an absolute saint, the Ice Dragon Patriarch of Dragon God Valley. The expressions of the 2 powerhouses from the intentionless saber sect changed drastically. They slashed out terrifying saber lights towards the Ice Dragon Old Ancestor. Whoosh! A black and white sword chi cut through the void and slashed at the Tower Master of Blood Demon Tower. Then with a loud roar, a divine sun lion appeared. The Valley Master of Ice Dragon Valley also appeared and joined the battle. Although the deity sect and the other major sects had previously discussed about destroying Dragon God Valley, they couldn't just leave them in the lurch. If the experts of the deity sect, Jiuxiao Sword sect, and Evil Moon sect all died here, the remaining forces in the Azure region would be greatly weakened. This was exactly what Evil Spirit wanted. They had to join forces to deal with evil spirit. The scene was in a chaotic battle. Many absolute saints flew into the sky and started fighting. The battle between absolute saints was too terrifying. The overflowing chi could kill great saints and bright saints, not to mention those below the saint realm. They all had disciples below. If they fought with all their strength below, the disciples of both sides would die. The absolute saints flew into the sky and fought. The others below were fighting, and screams kept coming. Little Qing, it's in that demon mountain. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the area. According to the images he saw in Mo Yang's memories, his gaze landed on the place where many sects had gathered. Xian Yanqing was imprisoned under the demon mountain. The soul of evil spirit's blood demon master was also below. Lu Ming stepped forward. He had a saint weapon around him, and a sword in his hand. With one slash, he killed a saint of the Tianyu demonic sect. Then, he killed another saint of the Yudu sect with one strike. After killing a few people, Lu Ming did not linger in the battle. He used the thundering wind steps, and his figure flickered as he headed towards the demon mountain. Lu Ming died. With a loud roar, a middle-aged brawny man charged at Lu Ming with a demonic blade in his hand. His aura was extremely shocking. This was a great saint. He was even more powerful than the burly elder, who had fought with Lu Ming previously. Lu Ming waved his sword and slashed with all his might. Clang! The other party's saber gleam directly crushed Lu Ming's sword gleam and slashed at Lu Ming's combat sword. Lu Ming felt an unstoppable force surging towards him. He retreated continuously, his chi and blood churning, and a mouthful of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Great Sage Great Mastery. This was an expert in the Great Sage Great Mastery realm. He was extremely powerful, and Lu Ming was no match for him. Cripple him first. After the battle is over, we'll force out his secret. A few more people appeared in front of Lu Ming. They were all great saints. One of them was the burly elder, who had fought with Lu Ming earlier. His eyes were cold. There were a total of 4 great saints. Lu Ming could not possibly defeat them. The 4 great saints' auras exploded and pressed down on Lu Ming. Since you're looking for death, it'll fulfill your wish. Lu Ming said coldly. The holy weapons around him flew into his body and disappeared. A large halberd appeared in his hand. Reincarnation halberd. Zhen Yuan poured into the reincarnation halberd. A beam of energy was activated, and a layer of black light appeared on the halberd. You still want to kill us? Die. The middle-aged man slashed at Lu Ming again. Kill. Lu Ming held the reincarnation halberd and slashed with all his might. With a clang, the battle saber in the middle-aged man's hand was directly cut into 2 by the reincarnation halberd. The reincarnation halberd did not stop. With one slash, the middle-aged man's body was split in half from the middle. A great sage expert had fallen. The other 3 supreme saints were almost scared to death. That was a great saint, but he was killed by Lu Ming's halberd. Even the demonic blade of the great saint weapon was cut in half. How could this be? Retreat, retreat. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to retreat. The further away they were from Lu Ming, the better. It's too late to leave now. Kill. Lu Ming shouted and slashed with the reincarnation halberd. A dark light flashed and the 3 great saints' bodies stiffened. Their eyes popped out and they looked horrified. Then their bodies were torn into pieces and their souls were destroyed. 3 supreme saints were killed in one move. The other people nearby were scared out of their wits. They retreated frantically and kept their distance from Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped forward and continued to walk toward the demon mountain. Along the way, there were hundreds of people from the intentionless saber sect and evil spirit sect who were in the middle. They were directly killed by Lu Ming's halberd, and hundreds of people were killed in an instant. Lu Ming was bathed in blood, looking like a demonic god as he came to the demonic mountain. Open it. Lu Ming held the reincarnation halberd with both hands and raised it high. The reincarnation halberd enlarged rapidly, and then hacked down heavily at the demon mountain. This halberd was like the halberd of a god. As it slashed down, the huge palace on the demon mountain directly exploded. Boom! 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 Under the reincarnation halberd, the towering demon mountain was split into 2 with a loud noise. Huge rocks flew everywhere, as if doomsday had arrived. The demon mountain was split open, revealing the underground cave under the mountain. Who is it? And MBSB, a sharp sound reverberated through the sky. In the underground cave, blood mist gathered and formed a giant face. Xian Yinqing sat there motionless, as if he was unaware of what was happening outside. Little Qing. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He did not expect to see Xian Yinqing again in such a place, and under such circumstances. The Tianyu demonic sect and evil spirit cult must be destroyed and killed. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a layer of blood red, and his killing intent was extremely strong. Brat, you're looking for death. Die. A loud shout was heard. An elder in a black robe rushed out of the underground cave. Demonic chi surged from his body, and his aura was extremely terrifying. This was an absolute saint. The Tianyu demonic sect had specially called for a supreme saint to guard this underground cave. Kill him, the giant face formed by the blood demon king shrieked. Die! The Tianyu demonic sect's absolute saint's demonic aura soared to the sky as he clawed at Lu Ming. The terrifying demonic claw was larger than a mountain. Even an expert in the great sage great perfection realm would be killed by this claw, let alone a Ming sage. However, Lu Ming's expression did not change. He was still cold and indifferent. He stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "You're the one who's going to die." The reincarnation halberd enlarged and slashed out. The demonic claw formed by the Tianyu demonic sect's absolute saint was directly split apart. The reincarnation halberd did not stop, and continued to slash at the Tianyu demonic sect's absolute saint. How is that possible? The sky demon sect's absolute saint's eyes widened. He realized that he had been completely locked onto by the reincarnation halberd. It was as if there was a reincarnation power that made it impossible for him to dodge. He could only take it head-on. He roared and struck out with his palms. In an instant, he struck out hundreds of palm prints. The hundreds of palm prints merged and formed a giant demonic palm print, which smashed towards the reincarnation halberd. However, it was all in vain. As the reincarnation halberd slashed down, the demonic palm print collapsed. The reincarnation halberd slashed at the Tianyu demon sect's absolute saint with unparalleled power. The absolute saint let out a blood-curdling scream that reverberated throughout the entire Tianyu demon sect. Then he was cut in half by Lu Ming, and his soul was annihilated. An absolute saint had died. Chapter 1729. 1729. The confrontation between souls. This scene was seen by everyone present, and it made their hearts tremble. This was especially so for the people from the Sky Demon sect and the Yudu sect. They were almost scared to death. An absolute saint was killed by Lu Ming's halberd. How did Lu Ming have such powerful strength? Damn it. How can this little bastard control such a terrifying power? The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect was the most shocked. He kept screaming in his heart, and his face was twisted. Haha, good kill. Evil spirits' remnants are destined to be destroyed again. The Valley Master laughed, and his sword light was like a dragon, forcing an evil spirit absolute saint to retreat. How is that possible? The Blood Demon Master's giant face also screamed. Blood Demon King, I'll kill you now. Lu Ming held the reincarnation halberd and charged at the Blood Demon Queen. The reincarnation halberd could kill anyone below the Emperor level. Although the Blood Demon King was an Emperor-level expert at his peak, he was only left with a wisp of soul, so he could still be killed. Damn it, a bunch of trash. I can only take over his body now. The Blood Demon Master roared, and turned into a ray of blood light, rushing into Xian Yinqing's forehead. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed, and he rushed towards Xian Yinqing. Little Qing, wake up. Lu Ming shouted, but it was useless. Xian Yinqing did not wake up. Moreover, Xian Yinqing's body was covered in a layer of blood light. Her body trembled slightly and her face showed pain. Lu Ming was extremely anxious. Clearly, the Blood Demon King was trying to possess Xian Yinqing. He wanted to destroy Xian Yinqing's spiritual will and replace him. Lu Ming would never let such a thing happen. Let's go all out. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. He took a step forward and activated the Array Dao Law. Countless runes appeared on the ground. Runes were not inscriptions, they were of a higher level. Only those who had comprehended the power of laws could release them. A large array enveloped Lu Ming, and he sat down cross-legged. The space between his brows glowed, and a small person appeared. It was Lu Ming's soul. Lu Ming's soul rushed to Xianyang's glabella and entered it. The next moment, Lu Ming's soul appeared in a vast land. This place was Xianyang's sea of consciousness. The moment Lu Ming entered, he saw Xianyang's figure. At this moment, Xianyang was surrounded by a cloud of blood-red mist. Little Qing! Lu Ming roared and rushed over. Xianyang's figure wasn't his soul. He hadn't broken through to the Saint Plane yet, so he hadn't condensed his soul. It was his spiritual will. One spiritual will could project a physical form in one sea of consciousness. It was just like how Lu Ming could project a physical form in his own sea of consciousness a long time ago. However, it was impossible for his soul to enter other people's sea of consciousness like Lu Ming. Once one spiritual will broke through to the saint realm, it would form a soul. If the Blood Demon King refined Xianyang's spiritual will, it would be equivalent to Xianyang disappearing from the world. Lu Ming! Xianyang exclaimed. He did not expect Lu Ming to come to her sea of consciousness. Blood Demon King die. Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and rushed toward the Blood Demon King. With a swing of his palm, the law of chaos circulated and slashed at the Blood Demon King's soul. Nomological laws were grasped after one had comprehended them. They borrowed the laws of heaven and earth, and not one's own energy. Therefore the soul could also use the laws. Brat, you're looking for death, die. The Blood Demon Queen shouted coldly, and condensed into a human form. It was the form of an old woman. She stretched out her withered claws and grabbed at Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming's palm struck the Blood Demon King's claw. He immediately felt a terrifying force surge over, as if it was going to tear his arm apart. Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly. The chaos laws circulated continuously and finally obliterated this force. Although the Blood Demon King was only a wisp of his soul, he was an emperor-level existence at his peak. His foundation was too strong, and Lu Ming could not match him at all. Even though Lu Ming's soul force was already equivalent to a supreme saint, it was useless. Brat, not only will you not be able to save this little girl today, even you will have to stay here. The Blood Demon Queen sneered and floated toward Lu Ming. Her withered claws continued to claw at Lu Ming. Godly sword technique. Lu Ming had an idea. He circulated the divine sword technique. His entire body turned into a sword of the soul, and slashed at the Blood Demon King. It's actually a soul-destroying divine sword technique. It's a pity that your soul power is too weak. The Blood Demon Queen sneered. Her claws grabbed the soul spirit battle sword that Lu Ming had transformed into. A sound of metal clashing was heard, and the soul spirit battle sword was sent flying. Buzz! The soul spirit sword transformed back into Lu Ming. In a flash, Lu Ming appeared beside Xianyang. Little Qing, are you alright? Lu Ming looked at Xianyang worriedly. I'm fine. Lu Ming, why are you here? Leave quickly, leave this place quickly. Xianyang said anxiously. Silly girl, what nonsense are you saying? If you're in danger, why would I leave? If I have to die today, I'll die with you. Lu Ming said, his voice full of tenderness. Then I'll send you on your way, and let you two be a pair of mandarin ducks sharing the same fate. The Blood Demon Queen sneered, and attacked the two of them, clawing at them. This is my sea of consciousness. Get out! Xianyang shouted. Her spiritual will glowed, and a terrifying fluctuation spread toward the Blood Demon Master. The evil spirit Discipline King's eyes revealed a grave expression. His two claws continuously struck out, breaking that invisible fluctuation. It wasn't easy to possess someone. Just like Xianyang said, this was her sea of consciousness. In her sea of consciousness, Xianyang was able to unleash a terrifying power to destroy foreign souls. Therefore, the Blood Demon Master had always wanted to devour and refine more souls to strengthen his own soul before he began to possess Xianyang. But now, she was forced to start the possession in advance. Kill! Lu Ming continued to cast the divine sword technique and transformed into a divine sword. He cooperated with Xianyang to fight against the Blood Demon Master. Meanwhile, the battle outside was getting more and more intense. A large number of experts had fallen here forever, their blood staining the entire Demon Mountain. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect looked anxious when he saw Lu Ming's soul enter Xie Nianking's body. You guys go and kill Lu Ming. Hurry! The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shouted. A few great saints immediately pounced on Lu Ming. You're looking for death. With a long roar, the sword light broke through the sky and 2 supreme saints were killed instantly. With a flash of sword light, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master appeared beside Lu Ming, holding his sword to block the attack. Kill! We must kill Lu Ming, and let the Shakyamuni successfully possess him. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shrieked. All of this involved her future. If the Blood Demon King succeeded, she would have a chance to become a great emperor in the future. She must not be ruined by Lu Ming. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect used all his strength to force his opponent to retreat before charging towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. At the same time, the other 2 Absolute Saints also rushed toward the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. At that moment, 2 more Absolute Saints appeared on Evil Spirit's side. Evil Spirit had the advantage of Absolute Saints. Chapter 1730. 1730 Killing Emperor's Soul on Evil Spirit Cult's side. There were already 11 Absolute Saints, including the 3 major sects, Tianyu Demonic Sect, Yuta Sect, and Blood Demon Tower. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master, and the others had originally come with 5 people. In addition to the Absolute Saints from the Tianshan Sect, the Evil Moon Sect, and the Jiuxiao Sword Sect, there were 9 people in total. However, 2 of them had been seriously injured by the sneak attack. The situation was not in the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's favor. 9 appearances of Cloud Dragon. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master kept slashing out with his sword. The sword light turned into 9 cloud dragons that flew out and blocked the Absolute Saints in the air. However, the Absolute Saints attacked and defeated the Cloud Dragon. Although the Cloud Dragon Valley Master was strong, he was only one person. It would be difficult for him to stop the joint forces of several people. Kill! Kill! A few Absolute Saints shouted. They controlled laws and used their superpowers to form a terrifying offensive power that poured towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. There were also some with terrifying combat power that was not much weaker than the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Roar! With a dragon roar, the Ice Dragon Patriarch rushed over with a terrifying cold current. He sent an Absolute Saint flying with one move and almost froze him. Get lost! The Ice Dragon roared and struck out with its claws. The other 2 Absolute Saints were also forced back. The Ice Dragon Patriarch and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master stood together to protect Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Charge! The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shrieked. At least 5 Absolute Saints charged toward Lu Ming. However, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the Ice Dragon Patriarch didn't want to make any mistakes, so they guarded the area tightly. The other party couldn't get past them for a while. In Xie Nianking's Sea of Consciousness, the battle had already entered a state of white heat. The Blood Demon Patriarch was an emperor-level powerhouse after all. Even with his soul fragment, he was still terrifying. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were no match for him. They were surrounded by the Blood Demon Patriarch in a bloody light. The blood-red light contained the power of laws. She wanted to refine Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing together. Hee. Your fate has already been decided. Just accept your fate. The Blood Demon King let out a sharp laugh. A bloody mist filled the air. Lu Ming felt a tearing pain in his soul. Xian Nianking's spiritual will trembled, as if it could not withstand it anymore. Little Qing. Lu Ming was unwilling to give up. His soul turned into a long sword and slashed at the blood mist around him. Unfortunately, as the battle continued, Lu Ming's soul force became weaker and weaker. It was already difficult for him to cause fatal damage to the Blood Demon King. Struggle with all your might. This is your last chance. The Blood Demon Queen laughed. She seemed to enjoy the process of Lu Ming and the rest struggling. At that moment, Lu Ming's spine emitted a blood-red light. Then the prison-suppressing steel bloodline emerged. With a whoosh, the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline rushed into Xian Nianking's glabella and entered his sea of consciousness. Buzz! As soon as it arrived in Xian Nianking's consciousness, the prison-suppressing steel changed rapidly like a mountain. The two words prison steel below it gave off a brilliant light and pressed down on the Blood Demon Master. Prison suppressing steel, how is that possible? The Blood Demon King shrieked. Boom! Under the suppression of the prison suppressing steel, the Blood Demon King let out a scream. The blood mist rolled and formed an old woman's body again. Her face was full of shock and horror. Buzz! The prison suppressing steel grew larger and larger. The two words seemed to have infinite power, and once again pressed down on the Blood Demon King. The Blood Demon Queen screamed and retreated quickly, but it was useless. She seemed to have been locked by the prison-suppressing steel, and had nowhere to escape. Boom! This time, the Blood Demon King's body directly exploded. Balls of soul power were obliterated by the power of the prison-suppressing steel. When the Blood Demon King gathered together again, her body had shrunk a lot, and she looked dispirited. However, the prison-suppressing steel obviously had no intention of letting her go. It pressed down again. The Blood Demon Master screamed in fear. She was going crazy. She never dreamed that the prison-suppressing steel would appear here. The prison-suppressing steel was the nemesis of her clan. Boom! This time, the Blood Demon King was even more miserable. His form was directly shattered, and after a roll, it was difficult for him to reform. At this moment, a black crystal appeared in Xianyang's consciousness. It emitted a terrifying devouring power, and was about to devour the Blood Demon King's soul. It's my world core, Xianyang said. Lu Ming's expression changed. He controlled the prison-suppressing steel, and it flew back to his head. Ah, don't! The Blood Demon King kept screaming, as if he was extremely frightened. However, there were still balls of soul energy that were absorbed by the world core. Lu Ming recognized it. The world core at this moment was what he had obtained in the core of the Divine Ruins continent back then. He had thought that it was a saint's heart, but now it seemed that it was a world core left behind by an emperor-level powerhouse. The soul energy of the Blood Demon King was continuously devoured by the world core. In the end, only a black shadow was left, constantly twisting and struggling. At this moment Lu Ming was shocked. This was because the black shadow that had appeared at the end did not look like a human at all. Although it had the form of a human, it was extremely strange. It was like a shadow, and there was an eye in the middle of its brows. It had a total of 3 eyes. Lu Ming was reminded of the three-eyed god race, and the terrifying creature that fought the Titan Bull. It also had 3 eyes. What was the connection between all these? Could it be that this black shadow was the true body of the Blood Demon King? Buzz! At that moment, the prison-suppressing steel was not under Lu Ming's control. It flew out of his body and pressed down on the black shadow. No! The black shadow screamed in fear. But under the prison-suppressing steel, the black shadow exploded and turned into ashes. The remnant soul of the Blood Demon Master was finally crushed to death by the prison-suppressing steel. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. Lu Ming, I'm going to cultivate in seclusion. At this moment Xianyang spoke. The world core seemed to have absorbed the Blood Demon King's soul energy, and had undergone a change. Alright, you can go into seclusion. It'll protect you, Lu Ming said. Xianyang nodded. The next moment, her spiritual will disappeared. Lu Ming, on the other hand, left Xianyang's sea of consciousness with the prison-suppressing steel, and returned to his body. As soon as he returned to his body, Lu Ming heard a loud boom. He turned around and saw the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the Ice Dragon Patriarch fighting 5 absolute saints. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the Ice Dragon Patriarch were barely able to resist the 5 absolute saints, but they didn't take a step back. Instead, they stood firmly in front of them. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and strode forward with the reincarnation halberd in his hand. Lu Ming, did you succeed? Asked the Ice Dragon Patriarch. It's a success. The Blood Demon Master has been killed. Lu Ming's voice spread throughout the entire area, causing many people to be shocked. Impossible. The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect started to scream like a madman. With the Blood Demon King's death, her years of hard work would be in vain. Her face was distorted. Chapter 1731. 1731 Yanqing breaks through the Saint Realm. Nothing is impossible. Kill! Die! Lu Ming shouted. He held the reincarnation halberd with both hands and slashed forward. This attack was aimed at an extremely powerful absolute saint. This person's combat power wasn't much weaker than the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. If he wanted to kill, he had to kill the strongest. The reincarnation halberd was like the halberd of the heavenly god. As it slashed down, there was no way to stop it. The absolute saint let out an unwilling roar, and his body was turned into ashes by the reincarnation halberd. Nothing was left. The other 4 absolute saints were shocked. They didn't dare to stay any longer. They all retreated frantically, afraid that Lu Ming would kill them with his halberd. There was a look of pity in Lu Ming's eyes. The energy was used up. There were 2 streams of energy in the halberd. The one that had been used earlier had been used up, especially to kill an absolute saint. Now there was only 1 energy left in the halberd. However, there were still 10 absolute saints. Even if he used the last bit of energy, he wouldn't be able to kill all of them. Kill! Lu Ming only hesitated for a moment before he stepped forward with the reincarnation halberd in his hand. He didn't release that burst of energy. That energy was to be used at a critical moment. However, the others did not know that Lu Ming had no energy left. When they saw Lu Ming approaching, they were scared out of their wits and retreated continuously. Ha ha ha, kill! The Ice Dragon Patriarch laughed heartily. Together with the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, they followed Lu Ming and charged forward. Wherever they passed, the evil spirit cultivators, regardless of their cultivation levels, all retreated frantically. Lu Ming was too terrifying. No matter what cultivation level they were at, they would be killed in one strike with the halberd in his hand. It was the same even for absolute saints. They were completely undefeatable. Whoever went up against them would die. Then Lu Ming walked toward the sect master of the Sky Demon sect. The sect master's expression changed. He used all his strength to force his opponent back and retreated frantically. Why are you retreating? Didn't you want to kill me? Lu Ming sneered and glared at the sect master of the Sky Demon sect. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect glared at Lu Ming coldly. She wanted nothing more than to cut him into pieces. However, she did not dare to fight, afraid that Lu Ming would kill her with his halberd. Gather, gather! The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect roared, and the experts from evil spirits started to gather together. There were 10 absolute saints standing at the forefront, and their combined auras were earth-shattering. However, Lu Ming held the reincarnation halberd and stepped forward. The other party was shocked and retreated. 1 man and 1 halberd forced the 10 absolute saints and many other great beings to step back. This scene was so shocking that many people would never forget it for the rest of their lives. Lu Ming, you're just relying on external items. I can kill you with 1 slap if I rely on my real abilities. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect said coldly. Ha ha ha, relying on external items? How laughable. How many years have you been cultivating? How old are you? If you were the same age as me, I could blow you to death with a single breath. Lu Ming laughed out loud, his laughter filled with disdain. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect had an ugly expression on his face, but he could not refute. You'll die sooner or later if you stop evil spirit. No one can stop evil spirit from rising. Let's go. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect and the others slowly retreated. Old hag, you don't want your disciple anymore? Lu Ming took out the Mo Yang sword and continued. I forgot to tell you. I did search Mo Yang's soul. However, his soul was destroyed by the power of the restriction. Now he has become an idiot. What? Ah, you dared to trick me. The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect shrieked, his face contorted in anger. She knew that she had been deceived by Lu Ming. Previously, Lu Ming had said that he would search Mo Yang's soul in public and project the image. However, that was completely fake. He was lying to her. His purpose was to trick her into taking action. Otherwise, she could have used the power of the Tianshan sect and the other sects to destroy Dragon God Valley first, then the Demon Castle and the Life and Death Sword sect. Finally, she could have laid a trap and suddenly attacked the Tianshan sect and the other sections. In that way, the Azure region would have fallen completely into their control. Moreover, the Blood Demon Master could also successfully possess the body, and everything would be perfect. But now everything had changed. It was because of Lu Ming that she was tricked into making a move in advance. Everything had changed because of this. At that moment, the sect master's face was twisted like a demon. "Let's go!" The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect roared and turned to leave. The rest of the evil spirit cultivators also retreated and disappeared. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and company did not pursue. They were already at a disadvantage. So even if they pursued, they would not be able to keep the other party. At this moment, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others looked at the sect master of the Tianshan sect with an unfriendly expression. The expression of the sect master of the Heavenly God sect changed drastically. His figure flashed and retreated to the distance. "What do you want?" "The first thing we have to deal with now is evil spirit. If we have an internal conflict, evil spirit will only become the dominant force." "Hee, what's the rush? We didn't say we were going to kill you." The Cloud Dragon Valley Master sneered. Then, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master looked around and said, "Everyone, let's go back and inform the other sects in the Azure Continent to join forces to find the lair of evil spirit and destroy them in one fell swoop. What do you think?" "I was thinking the same thing," the Lord of Demon Castle said. His huge eyes swept across the experts of Jiuxiao Sword Sect and Evil Moon Sect. "What do you all think?" "Annihilating evil spirit is our top priority." "I have the same intention," the Jiuxiao Sword Sect leader said. Then, the sect master of the Evil Moon Sect also nodded. In the end, everyone's eyes turned to the sect master of the Heavenly God Sect. "My Heavenly God Sect will naturally fight to annihilate evil spirit cult," the sect master of the Heavenly God Sect said. "All right, it's decided then." The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others nodded. "Farewell." After the sect master of the Heavenly God Sect finished speaking, he left with the remaining people of the Heavenly God Sect. In this battle, the Tianshan sect had suffered heavy losses. An absolute saint had died, and the other experts had also suffered heavy losses. Their strength had been greatly reduced. The Jiuxiao Sword Sect and the Evil Moon Sect were slightly better off. Their absolute saints didn't die, but they had also lost many powerful figures of other levels. Everyone farewell. We'll meet again in the future. The sect leader of the Jiuxiao Sword Sect also left with his sect members, and so did the Evil Moon Sect. In an instant, apart from the corpses strewn all over the ground, only Lu Ming and a few others were left in the huge Sky Demon Sect. Lu Ming returned to Xian Yanqing's side. Xian Yanqing was still sitting cross-legged, but there was a demonic aura around her. This little girl is about to break through to the Saint Realm. The Ice Dragon Patriarch appeared beside Lu Ming and said. Lu Ming nodded. "The few of you, return to your respective sects first. Join forces with the other sects in the Tsang region, and make arrangements to annihilate evil spirit. Lu Ming and I will stay here and wait for this girl to break through," the Ice Dragon Patriarch said to the Ice Dragon Valley Master, the Life and Death Sword Sect Master, and the others. Everyone nodded. In the end, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master also stayed, while the Life and Death Sword Sect Master, Demon Castle's Castle Master, and Ice Dragon Valley Master left and returned to their respective sects to begin planning the annihilation of evil spirit. Chapter 1732. 1732 Chapter 1732 Suppressing Evil Spirit. After half a month, Xian Yanqing finally broke through to the Martial Saint Realm. After that, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, the Ice Dragon Patriarch, and the Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley returned to Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming heard a lot of news as soon as he returned to Dragon God Valley. In the past half a month, news of the battle at the Tianyu demonic sect had spread throughout the Azure Continent, shocking the world. After that, Dragon God Valley, Life and Death Sword Sect, Demon Castle, and other sects gathered all the major sects in the Tsang state to join forces and annihilate the evil spirit cult. For a time many responded. The Heavenly God Sect, Jiuxiao Sword Sect, and the Evil Moon Sect responded one after another, joining the Alliance army to fight against evil spirit. After that, the Heaven King Palace, Linglong Palace and Piyuan family, who had always been neutral, also joined the alliance. At this point, the 9 great sects of the Azure Continent had joined forces, and with the addition of other small and medium-sized powers, their strength was immense. During this period, the various sects had continuously sent out experts to investigate evil spirits' hiding place, preparing to destroy it in one fell swoop. Another half a month passed, and they finally found out where evil spirit was hiding. It was in a barren land north of the Azure continent. In a short time, the experts of the various large sects in the Azure continent gathered in the north. The Jiuxiao Sword sect was in the north, and the various superpowers gathered outside the mountain gate of the Jiuxiao Sword sect. Dragon God Valley was led by the Ice Dragon Patriarch and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. They led a large number of experts to battle, while the Ice Dragon Valley Master guarded Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing also set off with the army and joined the army. In Cloud Dragon Valley, second senior brother Long Yuanshan stayed behind to hold the fort. Tian Chui and Xue Ningxin's cultivations were still weak, so they did not bring them along. As for Yang Tianzong, Lu Ming's fourth and fifth senior brothers, who were all saints, they would fight together. After a few days, they arrived outside the Jiuxiao Sword sect. Many people had gathered outside the Jiuxiao Sword sect. They were all experts from various sections. Even the weakest of them was a high-level martial royal realm expert. What was worth mentioning was that Bubble seemed to have gone into seclusion a few days ago. She had transformed into a ball of white light and enveloped herself like a cocoon. Lu Ming knew that Bubbles was about to break through. Lu Ming was secretly happy too. If Bubbles broke through to the sage state, with the space-time law, its power would be even more shocking. Outside the Jiuxiao Sword sect, more and more people gathered. After a few days, all 9 top sects had arrived. This time, each top sect sent 2 absolute saints. The 9 top sects added up to 18 absolute saints. In addition, there were even more supreme saints and light saints. Such a powerful force gathered together could sweep away all the sects in the Azure continent. In addition to half-saints and high-level martial royal realm experts, there were tens of thousands of them. All of them were elites, and more than half of the experts in the Azure continent were gathered here. Let's go! The Grand Master of the Jiuxiao Sword sect hollered before taking the lead and flying north. Jiuxiao Sword sect was located in the north, and was the most familiar with the geography of the area. Hence, he asked Jiuxiao Sword sect to lead the way. Tens of thousands of experts swept across the world with their terrifying auras. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. It was amazing that so many experts had gathered. If they joined forces, no one could stop them except for emperor-level experts. Very quickly, they flew into a vast mountain range. Furthermore, the further they went, the more barren the terrain became. Slowly, a thick fog appeared in front of them. Everyone perked up and raised their guard. The absolute saint stood outside to prevent any sneak attacks. He continued forward and flew for about 1,000 miles. There's someone in front. Suddenly someone shouted, "Boom! Boom!" Everyone's aura exploded as they took a defensive stance and looked forward. A large group of figures appeared in front of them. At the very front were the sect master of the Sky Demon sect, the Yudu sect master, and the other absolute saints. There had only been 10 absolute saints when they had retreated last time. Now there were 2 more, making a total of 12 absolute saints. The absolute saints from the Alliance also flashed and appeared at the front. The people from both sides stopped and faced each other. It seemed like Evil Spirit knew that they were coming, and had already gathered their powerhouses to wait for them. Evil Spirit religion's remnants must be exterminated. The sect leader of the Life and Death Sword sect said coldly. On his body, there were 2 colors, black and white, which were constantly moving. They were wisps of sword chi. Hee, what a joke. Evil Spirit will eventually rule the Azure region, and even a wider territory. Those who are enemies with my Evil Spirit will all die. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect said coldly. Her eyes fell on Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing, and her expression was ferocious. You're talking big. Today, we'll destroy Evil Spirit. An absolute saint from the Evil Moon sect stepped out. He was covered in dark moonlight and looked terrifying. This person had been heavily injured by the sneak attack on the Tianyu demonic sect last time. He had recovered recently and hated the Tianyu demonic sect, and the Yudu sect to the core. He couldn't help but attack. Bang! Bang! The other absolute saints also stepped out, shaking the ground. A mere lower-tier absolute saint kill. Stop. At this moment a loud shout rang out. It did not come from any of the other party, but from behind the evil spirit group. Then, a middle-aged man in a purple and gold robe stepped into the air. This person was wearing a jade crown, and was filled with a noble aura, like an emperor of the mortal world. In his hand was a golden battle sword, like the sword of an emperor. He slashed out, and a golden sword light slashed toward the expert from the Evil Moon sect. This sword chi was boundless and extremely terrifying. Its vast pressure made many people have the urge to worship it, and not resist. Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. The Absolute Saint from the Evil Moon sect roared in disbelief, and tried to block it. Endless moonlight rose up to block it. However, it was all in vain. The sword light shattered the moonlight, and the terrifying sword light cut into the body of the Evil Moon sect Absolute Saint. The Evil Moon sect Absolute Saint's body froze. His eyes were wide and filled with shock. Then, a bloody gash appeared on his glabella, and his body was split apart from the middle. Everyone was shocked. An Absolute Saint had died just like that, killed by a single sword. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master, and the other Absolute Saints, pupils constricted in disbelief. Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. This middle-aged man, who was filled with the aura of an emperor, was actually an Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. How could the other party have such a powerful expert? The Azure Continent didn't even have an Absolute Saint in the Great Circle. Even the Ice Dragon Patriarch hadn't reached the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint realm, after living for countless years. Lu Ming was even more shocked. He was very familiar with the man's temperament, which reminded him of De. Yes, the other party's temperament was similar to De's, and D Xian, who had gone to the Divine Wilderness Continent. D family, you are a D family's man. Someone shouted. The hearts of many people trembled. The Di family was an emperor-ranked power, located in the northwest of the Azure Continent. It seems that you guys have good eyesight. The noble middle-aged man spoke indifferently. His body emitted a golden radiance, and he looked down at his subjects like an emperor. Chapter 1733. 1733 Chapter 1733 Trap. Desperation Taoist brother of the Di family. Why did you kill the people of my Evil Moon sect? Do you know that they are from evil spirit? The sect leader of the Evil Moon sect said. His heart was bleeding. An Absolute Saint had been killed just like that. What a great loss. A top sect didn't have many Absolute Saints. I naturally know. The noble middle-aged man said indifferently. Since you already know, why are you still helping the evildoers? The sect master of the Evil Moon sect shouted. Helping the evildoer? What a joke, come out. The noble middle-aged man said indifferently. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, terrifying auras came from all directions. Golden sword lights shot up into the sky, stirring up the thick fog. Then one figure after another appeared before everyone's eyes. He was dressed in a golden robe, and had a jade crown on his head. He was filled with an air of nobility, and his temperament was very similar to that of the middle-aged man. The people of the Di family were all from the Di family, and there were more than 10,000 of them. Every one of them was emitting a terrifying chi. The number of bright saints and supreme saints was shocking. There were even more than a dozen absolute saints. 3 of them had the most terrifying auras. They were no weaker than the noble middle-aged man, and were all in the absolute saint realm. In addition to the noble middle-aged man, there were a total of 4 absolute saints in the Great Circle. At this moment, the experts of the major sects all turned pale. They were surrounded. Your D family has also joined Evil Spirit. Someone shouted. What do you mean by surrender? It's just cooperation. The noble middle-aged man said indifferently. Ha ha, I've said it before. You're the ones who will die today. Evil Spirit will rule the Azure Continent. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect laughed. The hearts of Lu Ming and the rest sank. They understood that they had fallen into a trap. The other party was waiting for them to come. However, how could they have expected such a thing? How could they have expected that the Di family would also side with Evil Spirit sect and send out such a shocking force to destroy them in one fell swoop? Your D family has sent so many experts to the Azure continent. Aren't you afraid that the Cloud Emperor Mountain will take advantage of this? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said, his brows tightly furrowed. Today they were in trouble. The other party's strength was far above them. If they fought, they had no hope. The other party had 4 great beings in the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint Realm. 4 great beings in the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint Realm were enough to deal with all of the Absolute Saints. Furthermore, they didn't know if the other party had other great beings in the dark. It seems that you are still unwilling to give up. I will make you give up. The Cloud Emperor Mountain was destroyed by my D family half a month ago. Emperor Yin was killed by the martial sovereign of my family. The noble middle-aged man said. What? The Cloud Emperor Mountain has been destroyed. Emperor Yin was killed? How is that possible? That's a great emperor. Countless people exclaimed in disbelief. The Gray State, the Cloud State where the Cloud Emperor Mountain was located, and the Emperor State where the Di family was located. These 3 states were closely connected. The Cloud Prefecture was to the west of the Tsang Prefecture, while the Emperor Prefecture was to the northwest of the Tsang Prefecture. Other than that, there were no other emperor-rank powers. That was because the Tsang Prefecture, the Emperor Prefecture, and the Cloud Prefecture were located in the middle of the Cloud Mountain Range. The terrain was flat, and the original Qi was rich. The Cloud Mountain Range was vast and boundless. It was surrounded by steep and evil peaks, where countless ferocious beasts resided. Only these 3 prefectures were opened up by Emperor Tsang, Emperor Yin, and the martial sovereign of the Di family. They were suitable for the human race to reproduce and cultivate. Outside of the Cloud Mountain Range, there were other monarch-level forces, but they were far away from the 3 prefectures. In the past, the 3 great forces were in a standoff, and no one could do anything to the other. Ever since Emperor Tsang's incident, the strength of the Azure continent had plummeted. However, the Cloud Emperor Mountain and the Di clan kept each other in check and confronted each other. The Azure continent was able to survive between the 2 forces and maintain a strange stability. Neither the Cloud Emperor Mountain nor the Di family could lay a finger on the Azure region. If one side sent out their troops to attack the Azure region, the other side would take advantage of the situation. Moreover, Emperor Yin and the martial sovereigns of the Di family were all about the same in strength, and neither of them could do anything to the other. But now, Emperor Yin was killed and the Cloud King Mountain was destroyed. In this way, the balance was completely broken, and no one could stop the Di family. It must be the evil spirit cult. The great emperor of the evil spirit cult must have helped the great emperor of the Di family to kill Emperor Yin. It's over, it's over. I can't win against evil spirit in the end. Many people sighed. They knew that the Cloud Emperor Mountain had been destroyed, and the Di family had sent a large number of experts here. They had no chance. Why are you talking so much nonsense with them? Just exterminate them. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect shouted. Wait a moment. At this moment, 2 figures appeared in the air. They were both wearing black robes. One of them was a white-haired old man, and the other was a thin old woman. Greetings to the 2 elders. The Grand Master of the Sky Demon sect hurriedly bowed when he saw the 2 of them. Everyone's heart sank even more. Every elder of evil spirit was at the peak of the Saint Realm. They were extremely terrifying. Now 2 more had come. The other party was too strong. They had no chance. The white-haired elder nodded. Then, he swept his gaze over the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others. My evil spirit religion has returned. We're still weak and need all the power we can get. As long as you surrender and work for my evil spirit religion, I can spare you. Many people's hearts moved and their eyes flickered. If they fought today, only death would await them. Rather than being killed, it would be better to join evil spirit. Of course, everyone who seeks refuge will place a seal on your soul, or your spiritual god. As long as you dare to resist, your soul will be destroyed and you will die with a single thought. The white-haired old man's voice turned cold. Many people's faces turned ugly. If a spirit or a spirit god had a restriction placed on them, they would really have no freedom at all, and would have to obey evil spirit. Alright, it'll give you 3 minutes to consider whether to surrender or not. Surrender and you'll live. If you don't, you'll die, the white-haired elder announced. Many people's faces were ugly. Their eyes flickered as they looked around. However, they had been completely surrounded. There were too many experts from the Dai family, and the original members of Evil Spirit. They had no chance. The difference was too great. It was impossible to break out of the encirclement. If they attacked, they would only die. As time passed, the atmosphere became more and more solemn. Very quickly, 3 minutes were about to pass. I'm willing to surrender. The entire Heavenly God sect is willing to surrender. A voice rang out. It was the sect master of the Tianshan sect. He was the first to speak. Good, a wise man knows when to act. You all step forward. I will set up a restriction on your soul or spiritual god. The skinny old woman spoke, her voice harsh and unpleasant. Although the sect master of the Tianshan sect was unwilling, he still led the experts of the Tianshan sect forward. The skinny old woman stepped down and stretched out her hand to touch the forehead of the sect master of the Heavenly God sect. Dense inscriptions entered the forehead of the sect master of the Heavenly God sect. Chapter 1734. 1734 Chapter 1734 Breaking out, after the skinny old woman, from Evil Spirit sect, set up a restriction for the sect master of the deity sect. She continued to set up restrictions for the rest of the deity sect. For those with high cultivation, she was a little slower in setting up restrictions. For those with low cultivation, she was extremely fast. With a wave of her hand, she set up restrictions on them one by one. The person with the restriction stood behind the skinny old woman obediently. Master, I'm going to rush out. In the crowd, Lu Ming held Xian Yanking's hand tightly and sent a message to the Cloud Dragon Valley master. He wasn't willing to be controlled by Evil Spirit and become their puppet. That would be worse than death. Moreover, there was still Xian Yinqing. He would rather die than let Xian Yinqing fall into Evil Spirit's hands again. All right. To his surprise, the Cloud Dragon Valley master nodded and sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. "Oh, contact the others and we'll take action together. No matter what, you young people must be sent out. Otherwise, we really have no hope." Lu Ming was touched. It seemed that the Cloud Dragon Valley master had no intention of surrendering. Even if Lu Ming did not say anything, the Cloud Dragon Valley master would find a way to rush out. "Master, the halberd I obtained from the 100 Clan battlefield only has 2 streams of energy. I used one last time at the Tianyu demon sect. And if I use the other one, I can kill a person in the great circle of the Absolute Saint realm with one strike." Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to the Cloud Dragon Valley master. All right. The Cloud Dragon Valley master's eyes lit up. Originally, he didn't have much confidence because each of the 4 sides had an absolute saint in the Great Perfection realm guarding them. In addition, there were 2 evil spirit elders. Even if he could unite a group of people and attack together, he wouldn't have much of a chance. However, if Lu Ming could kill an absolute saint in the perfection stage, they would be able to break out of the encirclement from that direction. The possibility of them breaking out would increase greatly. "Oh, contact the others first," the Cloud Dragon Valley master said. He immediately sent a voice transmission to the Ice Dragon Patriarch, who naturally agreed. Then, the Cloud Dragon Valley master sent a message to the sect master of the Life and Death Sword sect, the castle master of the Demon Castle, and the hall master of the Heaven Seat Hall. Most people agreed, but people like the Evil Moon sect and Piyuan family shook their heads and sighed. They didn't dare to take the risk. "Ming, we've already discussed it. When the time comes, the Patriarch and I will take you and Yinqing to break out of the encirclement." The Cloud Dragon Valley master sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. "It's just me and Shaoqing. What about my senior brothers and the other disciples of Dragon God Valley?" Lu Ming was shocked. "There's no other way. The more people we bring, the less chance we'll be able to escape. If we bring them along, we'll only kill them. It'll make them surrender and join Evil Spirit first. You and Yinqing are the most talented. Only if you rush out will there be hope. When your cultivation is great, you can come back to save them. If you're caught, the others will have even less hope," the Cloud Dragon Valley master said. But Lu Ming could not bear it. There's no need to say anything else. Ming-Er, remember, you are the only hope. The other sect leaders think the same way. They will only bring 1 or 2 of their most outstanding disciples to break out of the encirclement. There is only hope if you are safe, said the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Yang Tianzong and the others. Yang Tianzong and the rest trembled before they nodded without hesitation. Little junior brother, I'm counting on you. I'll wait for you to save me in the future. Yang Tianzong smiled and sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. He then strode out and said loudly, I want to surrender. I also want to surrender. Lu Ming's other senior brothers, as well as the rest of the people from Dragon God Valley, stepped out one after another shouting their surrender. At this moment, Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly and felt a tingling sensation at the tip of his nose. Some people might be really afraid of death and thus surrendered. However, Lu Ming understood Yang Tianzong and the rest very well. They would definitely rather fight to the death than surrender. However, at this moment, they surrendered without any hesitation. Their purpose was to put Lu Ming and the rest at ease, and to paralyze the evil spirit cult and the Dai family. Senior brother, if I rush out, I will definitely come back to save you. Evil spirit cult D family, I will definitely make them disappear from the Yuan continent. Lu Ming swore in his heart. I surrender. There were people from other sects who kept shouting to surrender. As expected, the evil spirit cultivators looked satisfied. The skinny old woman waved her hand and set up a restriction for Yang Tianzong and the rest. Ming-Er, it's time. The voice of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master rang in Lu Ming's ears. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and dashed to the west. Buzz! Buzz! And MBSB whoosh! At the same time, Xian Yinqing, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, the Ice Dragon Patriarch, the Life and Death Sword Sect Master, and the others also moved. They all rushed to the west. You still want to resist? You're looking for death. From the west, an absolute saint in the perfection stage shouted. A golden combat sword appeared in his hand, and a terrifying aura burst forth. A terrifying golden sword light slashed toward Lu Ming and the others. The attack of an absolute saint in the Great Circle was too terrifying. It suppressed all directions and destroyed everything in its way. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others' expressions changed. Even if they joined forces, they might not be able to break out of this attack. If they were blocked by the other party, the others would react, and they would have no chance. Kill! At this moment Lu Ming bellowed. The reincarnation halberd appeared, and the last wave of energy inside it exploded without hesitation. The reincarnation halberd transformed into a towering halberd. As it slashed down, the golden sword light was directly destroyed by the halberd. The halberd didn't stop, it was as fast as lightning. The absolute saint in the Great Circle couldn't block it at all, and was cut in half by the halberd. The terrifying power even left a deep trench in the ground. Charge! Kill our way out! The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others were invigorated as they charged forward with all their might. There were still a few absolute saints in front of them, but they were pushed back. They didn't want to fight anymore. They rushed out of the crowd and flew away. Damn it, chase, quickly chase! The white-haired elder from Evil Spirit roared, and was the first to give chase. The other 2 absolute saints from the Dai family, as well as some other absolute saints, also rushed out and flew toward Lu Ming and the others. You guys go after them too. The skinny old woman looked at the sect master and the others. The face of the sect master of the Heavenly God sect changed. Hurry up! The skinny old woman shouted. The sect master of the deity sect, and the few absolute saints who were trapped by the restriction had no choice but to chase after Lu Ming and the rest. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master enveloped Lu Ming with his saint energy, while the Ice Dragon Patriarch flew forward at top speed with Xian Yinqing. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the room, and realized that the others had brought 1 person each. The sect leader of the Life and Death Sword sect brought a young man with him. Lu Ming was quite familiar with him. It was Luo Xiang. Another absolute saint of the Life and Death Sword sect also brought a young man. In addition, there were 2 absolute saints from Demon Castle, 2 absolute saints from the Sky King Palace, and 2 absolute saints from the Linglong Palace, each with 1 person. There were 10 absolute saints and 10 young men. Without a doubt, these young men were the most talented ones in their respective sections. Only by sending them out would they have hope in the future. You won't be able to escape, so surrender. A cold voice came from behind. It was the elder from Evil Spirit, the white-haired old man. Chapter 1735. 1735 Emperor-to-be. The white-haired old man's speed was extremely fast. He was like a stream of light as he approached the crowd. There was a river flowing around his body, making him look like a god. The laws have formed a river. This person has already completely mastered a type of law. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master roared in anger, his expression extremely ugly. The others were the same. The river around the white-haired old man was completely formed from laws. It was a river of laws. The Saint Realm was the cultivation of laws. Ordinary people could only cultivate one law. He continued to comprehend and cultivate until he finally mastered this law. However, it was too difficult to completely grasp and comprehend a law. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even if he cultivated to the great circle of the absolute Saint Realm, he still hadn't completely comprehended a single law. When one completely comprehended a law, one would have already transcended the Sage Realm, and was half a step into the martial Emperor Realm. This realm could be called the Emperor-to-be realm. This white-haired old man was an Emperor-to-be. An Emperor-to-be was much stronger than a peak absolute saint. Everyone gritted their teeth and increased their speed to the maximum, flying forward with all their might. Whoosh! Whoosh! Streams of light streaked across the sky, and in the blink of an eye, everyone had flown tens of thousands of miles away. At this moment, the white-haired elder was getting closer to them. Kill! The white-haired elder shouted. With a wave of his hand, the river of laws turned into a huge palm, as big as a mountain, and blasted towards everyone. The terrifying power seemed to be about to burst the space. Let's join hands. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others roared and blocked Lu Ming and the others behind them. The 10 absolute saints joined forces and unleashed their strongest attack. The 10 attacks combined and blasted toward the huge hand. Boom! There was an earth-shattering boom. Although the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the other top 10 experts managed to block the huge hand, their bodies trembled, and they retreated one by one, spitting out blood. He injured 10 absolute saints with one move. The power was earth-shattering. I'll give you one more chance. Evil Spirit is in need of manpower. Surrender and I won't kill you. The white-haired elder said coldly. What made them even more desperate was that many figures were coming from behind. The other absolute saints were coming. Leave this person to me. Lu Ming held the reincarnation halberd in his hand and strode forward. He held the sword with both hands, exhaled, and slashed the reincarnation halberd at the white-haired elder. This time, Lu Ming released all the remaining energy in the reincarnation halberd, leaving nothing behind. The terrifying energy on the reincarnation halberd made the white-haired old man's expression change. Slash! The explosive elder roared. The river of laws transformed into a huge sword and slashed at Lu Ming. Clang! The halberd and the giant sword met in the air, and a terrible energy burst out, sweeping in all directions and destroying the world. Break! Lu Ming's long hair fluttered in the wind, making him look like an invincible god of war. The reincarnation halberd glowed with a dark light, slowly pressing down on his opponent. Bang! In the end, his opponent's sword light exploded with a bang. The terrifying energy on the reincarnation halberd completely hit the white-haired elder. The white-haired elder screamed and his body flew hundreds of miles away. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his aura was extremely weak. However, the white-haired old man did not die. Lu Ming sighed. The other party was too strong. He was an Emperor-to-be. Of course, if all the energy in the reincarnation halberd was released, it could kill an Emperor-to-be. Unfortunately, Lu Ming had used the last energy to kill an absolute saint in the Great Circle. As a result, he did not have enough energy to kill the white-haired elder. He could only injure him. The Reincarnation Emperor had once said that if the energy in the reincarnation halberd was fully unleashed, it could kill any expert below the Emperor level, even an Emperor-to-be. Of course, that was referring to the complete explosion of energy, Elder. At this moment, the experts of the Di family, the sect master of the Tiantian sect, and the others also arrived. They exclaimed in shock. What kind of weapon was in Lu Ming's hand? It was so terrifying that it could even injure an emperor-to-be. Previously, he had killed an absolute saint in the Great Circle with a single strike. This shocked them so much that they didn't dare to move forward. Let's go. At that moment, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's holy power rolled up and enveloped Lu Ming. Everyone continued to fly forward. Don't let them get away. The white-haired old man shouted angrily, then sat down on the ground and began to heal his injuries. Chase. The Di family's experts, the sect master of the Tiantian sect, and the others continued to chase after Lu Ming and his group. Not long after, another tens of thousands of miles had passed. After all, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others had brought one person with them. The distance between the two sides was slowly closing. However, they did not dare to make a move. Clearly, they were afraid of Lu Ming's reincarnation halberd. You guys attack first. An absolute saint in the great perfection of the Di family looked at the sect master of the Sky God sect and the others. Why should we make the first move? The expression of the Heavenly God sect's sect master changed drastically. If you don't attack, you'll die now. An expert from the Di clan coldly spoke. And NBSB, the sect master's face turned ugly. But they were being controlled by evil spirit and could only follow orders. Otherwise, the other party could kill them with a thought. Yunruoxu Lu Ming, you'd better surrender. Evil spirit has its eyes on you. You can't escape. The sect master of the Heavenly God sect spoke. Even if we can't escape, we still have to escape. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Stubborn. Kill. The sect master of the Tiantian sect looked gloomy. He took out a saint weapon and attacked the crowd from a distance. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master slashed out with his sword and sent the holy weapon flying. Following that, the other absolute saints, who were with the sect master of the Heavenly God sect, also took out their saint weapons to attack Lu Ming and the others. They were afraid of Lu Ming's halberd and did not dare to get close. We're getting close, attack with all your might. The Emperor family's expert coldly shouted. The sect master of the Tiantian sect had a cold expression on his face. He suddenly sped up and condensed a spear of divine punishment in his hand, stabbing it toward Lu Ming and the others. Get lost. The Valley Master of Cloud Dragon Valley slashed out with his sword, sending the sect master of the deity sect flying. Boom. An expert of the Emperor family flew up into the sky and slashed down with his sword. An astonishing sword light slashed down towards the crowd, and they joined forces to block the sword light. That brat's halberd should have some restrictions. He can't use it now. Suddenly, the sect master of the Heavenly God sect shouted. He recalled the time when he was in the Sky Demon sect. At the beginning, Lu Ming was also courageous and invincible. He had killed a few absolute saints in a row. However, in the end, he had watched the sect master and the others leave and did not pursue them. If Lu Ming's halberd could be used indefinitely, why didn't he kill the sect master of the Sky Demon sect and the others back then? With the power that could severely injure an emperor-to-be just now, it was completely possible. Moreover, he was being attacked by them, yet he had not used it. It was clear that there were some restrictions that prevented him from using it. Lu Ming's expression changed. It seemed that he had been exposed. The Di family's warrior's eyes glowed as he shouted, "Let's attack together." Instantly, 2 absolute saints in the perfected stage, and more than 10 absolute saints attacked at the same time. The terrifying attack swept toward Lu Ming and the others. Chapter 1736. 1736. A helpless choice. The sect master of the Tiantian sect pointed out Lu Ming's halberd, which was probably unusable now. The powerhouses of the Emperor family and evil spirit sect began to attack. All kinds of attacks poured toward Lu Ming and the others. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others could only retaliate with all their might. However, the other party had more people, and there were 2 absolute saints in the Great Circle. They were no match for them at all, and they were forced to retreat. They were at a disadvantage. The 2 absolute saints in the Great Circle were too powerful. After more than 10 moves, The weakest absolute saint was injured. He still hasn't used his halberd. It seems like he really can't use it. The sect master of the heavenly god sect spoke. His eyes were flickering with a cold light. Since he and the people of the deity sect could not escape, and were under the control of evil spirit, he did not want the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others to escape, especially Lu Ming. At the very least, he had to take down Lu Ming and the rest, and turn them into evil spirits' puppets. Kill. The two absolute saints in the Great Circle were even bolder. They held the Emperor swords and their sword chi was vast. They were like human emperors who could conquer the world. An absolute saint from the demon castle was pierced by the sword chi. He was severely injured and almost died. Boom. Boom. The others also continued to charge forward, breaking the defensive formation of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others. Die! An absolute saint in the great circle of the Emperor family shouted, and stared at the expert from the demon castle. His attacks were like a tide, and the Emperor's sword was slashed out, destroying everything. You guys hurry up and leave. The cultivator from the demon castle roared, and tried his best to block, but it was useless. In the end, he was cut in half by a sword and died here. Kid, you're a talent. Surrender. The Di family's expert stared at the young heaven's favorite of the demon castle, who was being carried by the expert from the demon castle, and said coldly, I surrender. The paragon of the monster castle had no choice but to surrender. At this time, another angry roar came from another person. The Dantian of an absolute saint from the Sky King Palace had been pierced by another absolute saint in the great perfection of the Emperor family, and his saint heart had been destroyed. The sword light turned the absolute saint into ashes. In the blink of an eye, two absolute saints had died. We can't fight them head-on charge. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master let out a long roar. The remaining 8 people tried their best to break through, but the other party was too strong. They were completely blocked, and found it difficult to break out of the encirclement. We can't go on like this. We have to split up and disperse the other party's strength. Otherwise, we'll all be left behind, said the Ice Dragon Patriarch. That's right. The 8 of us will form groups of 2 and break out of the encirclement. Whether we can break out or not will depend on our luck. The sect leader of the Life-Death Sword sect said, I'll open the way. The Ice Dragon Patriarch let out a long roar, and turned into a huge ice dragon. He opened his mouth and spat out a snow-white dragon horn, which emitted a terrifying power. The Ice Dragon Patriarch showed a trace of reluctance in his eyes and then roared, Explode! The snow-white dragon horn exploded with a boom, and a terrible cold current rushed out. An absolute saint of the Di family was frozen by the cold current, turning into an ice man. An absolute saint in the Great Circle was pushed back by the cold current, and his body was covered in a layer of ice. Charge! The Ice Dragon Patriarch roared and rushed out. The others followed closely behind. They broke out of the encirclement. Then, the 8 absolute saints split into 4 groups and ran in 4 directions. The Ice Dragon Patriarch and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master led Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing in a group. The 2 absolute saints of the Life and Death Sword sect led Luo Xiang and the other 2 heavens favorites in one group. The 2 great beings from the Linglong Palace formed another group. The Lord of the Demon Castle and the Lord of the Sky King Palace formed another group. Split up and chase. An absolute saint in the Great Circle roared. We can't let that Lu Ming go. He'll definitely be a big problem once he grows up. The sect master of the Heavenly God sect shouted. Chase. The absolute saint in the Great Circle personally led a group of people to chase after Lu Ming and the others. The others split up and chased after the other groups. That expert in the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint realm has his eyes on us. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's face was dark. With the combat power of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the Ice Dragon Patriarch, they were confident of escaping if there was no absolute saint in the Great Circle watching them. However, it would be difficult if an absolute saint was watching them. The 2 of them carried Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing as they flew at top speed. However, the other party was obviously faster, and the distance between them was constantly closing. Master Patriarch, we must split up. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. The enemy's target was obviously him. If they split up, Xian Yangqing's chances of escaping would be very high. If they worked together, it was very likely that none of them would be able to escape. Lu Ming, don't split up. Let's go together, Xian Yangqing said. How could she not know what Lu Ming was thinking? Lu Ming is right. We must separate. Patriarch, you take Nianqing and I'll take Lu Ming. We'll take as many as we can, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. All right. The Ice Dragon Patriarch was also very decisive and nodded directly. Lu Ming. Xian Yangqing was still reluctant. Let's go. Lu Ming roared. The Ice Dragon Patriarch grabbed Xian Yangqing with his huge claws. With a long roar, he separated from the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and flew in another direction. You guys go after that Ice Dragon. Leave these two to me. The Absolute Saint in the Great Circle ordered the other Absolute Saints to chase after the Ice Dragon Patriarch, while the Great Being in the Great Circle continued to chase the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and Lu Ming. Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. With the Ice Dragon Elder's combat strength, as long as he wasn't up against a perfected Absolute Saint, there was a high chance that he would be able to escape. The Absolute Saint was indeed staring at him. This was also the reason why Lu Ming did not use the mountain and river diagram to store other people. If he put the others into the mountain and river diagram, the other party would be less of a target. They would only need to keep an eye on him. In that case, they would not be able to escape. As long as he could capture Lu Ming, he would be able to wipe them out. The best way was to split up. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master brought Lu Ming along and transformed into a beam of sword light. In the blink of an eye, they traveled 1,000 miles, and the endless mountains beneath their feet swept past. You can't escape. Since your combat strength is not bad, you should surrender obediently. Otherwise, only death awaits you, the Supreme Saint of the Di family said coldly. His body seemed to have turned into a golden sword light, breaking through the air at an amazing speed. Even if the Cloud Dragon Valley Master tried his best, he was unable to pull away. Instead, the distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. Whoosh! Behind them, the Di family's expert slashed out a sword light towards Lu Ming and the other man. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master waved his sword to block it. With a clang, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's body trembled and his face turned pale. However, he still used this force to fly forward for 100 miles. Master, Lu Ming was worried. I'm fine. Ming, you go first. I'll block him. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. What? Lu Ming's heart trembled. No, this person is too powerful. He's a perfected Absolute Saint. I can't let Master stay here alone. If the Cloud Dragon Valley Master stayed behind to stop the other party, the odds would be against him. Lu Ming would never agree to that. Ming, there's only hope as long as you escape. Now, your senior brothers and so many people from Dragon God Valley have fallen into the hands of evil spirit cult. Dragon God Valley will definitely not be safe from now on. Your only hope now is on you. With your talent, you will definitely rise in the future and destroy evil spirit cult and the Di family. If you're also caught, then there's really no hope at all. Do you understand? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master continued to transmit his voice. Chapter 1737. 1737 Chapter 1737 Bubbles transforms Master. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. Although he understood that this was the best choice, he really couldn't leave the Cloud Dragon Valley Master to resist the other party while he escaped alone. Ever since he joined Dragon God Valley and became Cloud Dragon Valley Master's disciple, Cloud Dragon Valley Master had helped him too much. In front of Cloud Dragon Valley, he had been suppressed by Yinzheng. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master had pushed Yinzheng back in anger. Later on, he had used the power of the third bloodline to transform into a killing puppet. It was the Cloud Dragon Valley Master who had arrived in time and saved him. He had frozen him for half a year to erase his endless killing intent. And many, many more. It could be said that without the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, Lu Ming would not be where he was today. Now Lu Ming had to make such a choice. Lu Ming found it difficult to do it. Ming, don't be silly. Your senior brothers, and the rest of Dragon God Valley depend on you to save them. You don't have to worry about me. If I can't win, I'll just surrender and wait for you to come back and save me. The evil spirit cult needs strength to rise again. They won't kill me. And MBSB Cloud Dragon Valley Master continued. Also, escape and go to Ancient Moon Holy Land. Ask for help from them. Only a powerful faction from Ancient Moon Holy Land can deal with evil spirit sect. If we're all captured, we'll have no hope. Let's go. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master shouted. Master, take care. Lu Ming roared, and used the divine wind steps to fly forward at top speed. Lu Ming was also a decisive person. He struggled in his heart for a while, and made a decision very quickly. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master stopped, and held his sword in one hand. His white clothes were like snow and his white hair danced in the wind. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at the DI family's experts rushing over. Roar! Buzz! A dragon's roar resounded as Sword Chi shot up into the sky. Lu Ming turned around and saw two shocking sword gleams meeting in the air and colliding fiercely. Lu Ming's heart trembled, and he clenched his fists tightly. As he used too much force, his nails dug into his palms and blood flowed. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was roaring in his heart. Master, you must be fine. I will come back to save you in the future. Evil spirit cult D family. I will destroy them with my own hands. Boom! Boom! In the distance, Sword Chi shot up into the sky, constantly clashing with each other. It was extremely intense. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and pushed his speed to the limit. He dashed into the distance like a stream of light, and finally rushed into the vast mountains. After rushing into the mountain, Lu Ming transformed the chaos rule into the law of the earth, and then rushed into the ground. Lu Ming's entire body sank into the ground, and he disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming traveled underground, surrounded by laws. His speed was still extremely shocking. Moreover, Lu Ming had cast the illusionary breath technique to conceal his aura to the extreme. Not a single trace of his aura was leaked out. Just like that, Lu Ming had been traveling underground for 2 days and 2 nights. He had no idea how far he had run. At this moment, Lu Ming finally stopped. With a single thought, he entered the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram was left deep underground. Lu Ming took out a pile of raw gemstones and devoured and refined them. Not long after, Lu Ming's holy power was fully recovered. I wonder what happened to Master. I hope that Shizhuan can't win and directly surrender. And Nianqing, did he and the Ice Dragon Patriarch escape? Lu Ming's eyes were full of worry. Strength. At this moment he was extremely eager for strength. His cultivation speed was already very fast. It had been more than 5 years since he came to the Yuan continent. When he had just arrived in the Yuan continent, he was only at the supreme level and had not yet become an emperor. But now, he was already a saint. It was shocking that he had crossed such a huge distance in just a little more than 5 years. One should know that after reaching the rank of a martial emperor, the concept of time became more and more unclear. Many people would go into closed-door cultivation for 10 years, decades, or even hundreds of years. In 5 to 6 years, many people might not even be able to cross one level of cultivation. Lu Ming's cultivation speed was already very fast. It was not inferior to some of the peerless geniuses. Lu Ming's combat strength was even more shocking. With his cultivation of Initial Bright Saint, he could even kill an ordinary Initial Supreme Saint if he used all his means. There had never been one in the Azure continent since ancient times. However, such a battle prowess was naturally high up in the Azure continent's younger generation. It was impossible to surpass him. But in the face of an emperor-ranked power, he was still so powerless. In emperor-ranked forces, let alone martial emperor powerhouses, he wasn't a match for any of the emperors to be or absolute saints. He had to keep improving. If he had the cultivation base of a martial supreme, he could directly trample on the DI family and annihilate the DI family and evil spirit cult. Master, just you wait. I will definitely go to Ancient Moon Holy Land and get reinforcements. Even if there are no reinforcements, I will definitely save you all. Lu Ming's eyes were determined. He moved and appeared in a valley. In the valley, there was a milky white light cocoon, and within the light cocoon was Bubble. Lu Ming took a look and left the place. He sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree. I can't go out now. I guess evil spirit and D family are looking for me all over the world. I'll go out after a while. Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming then closed his eyes and began to study the finger of tribulation of chaos. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. In the distance, a beam of light shot into the sky and interrupted Lu Ming's cultivation. Bubble. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He took a step forward and appeared in the valley. At that moment, the light cocoon that was formed by bubbles was extremely dazzling. After a while, the light receded and Lu Ming saw a figure in the light. Yes, it was a figure, an adult. Don't tell me that Bubbles has transformed. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When the light completely disappeared, a little girl appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a little girl who looked to be only 2 or 3 years old. Her hair was loose and she was naked, revealing her skin that was even fairer and smoother than white jade. She looked chubby and extremely cute. This is Bubble? It really is a woman. Lu Ming was tongue-tied. Lu. Brother Lu Ming, chirp chirp. The cute little girl blinked her big eyes. When she saw Lu Ming, she called out in a childish voice and pounced toward Lu Ming. She threw herself into Lu Ming's arms, her chubby body rolling in his arms. Bubble, you've transformed? Lu Ming said. The spirit sea was already capable of transforming ordinary demonic beasts. However, divine beasts could only transform after they reached the Emperor realm. The higher the level, the harder it was to transform. Bubbles was one of the top 10 war beasts, but it could only transform after reaching the Saint realm. That's right, Chirpy. Bubbles opened her mouth and spoke in a childish voice. Her speech was not smooth, and she even had a chirpy tone at the end. She was really as cute as she could be. Haha, Bubble, put on your clothes. Lu Ming smiled, and his mood finally improved. Yes, brother Lu Ming, chirp chirp. She was sparkling, and there was light flowing on her body. She weaved a little dress with saint power, which made her look even cuter. Bubble, let's go out and take a look, Lu Ming said. He then let Bubbles sit on his shoulder. Lu Ming exited the mountain and river diagram, concealed his aura, and headed to the ground. More than half a month had passed, so the other party must have left this area. Chapter 1738. 1738 Chapter 1738, asking for information after reaching the surface. He found that he was in a vast mountain range, and the roars of demonic beasts could be heard from time to time. I wonder how Master is doing, and Xiang and the others. Lu Ming revealed a worried look. Bubble, you enter the mountain and river diagram first. I'm going back to Dragon God Valley, Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Pow Pow nodded and returned to the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming's body began to transform. In the end, he turned into a dark-skinned young man. His aura had also changed greatly. Then, Lu Ming headed in the direction of the Azure continent. Lu Ming could not feel at ease leaving just like that. He had to find out the whereabouts of Cloud Dragon Valley Master, Xian Yinqing, Xiang, Tian Shui, and the others. If he left now, he would leave behind a demon in his heart, which would have a great impact on his future cultivation. Given Lu Ming's cultivation base, as long as he did not encounter an absolute saint, he should not be able to see through his disguise. He just had to avoid an absolute saint. Lu Ming rose into the air and flew at top speed. Along the way, he did not encounter anyone from Evil Spirit Cult or the Dai family. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the place where the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had stopped. It was a desolate place. The ground was filled with deep sword marks that crisscrossed and extended for thousands of miles. It could be seen how intense the battle was. Lu Ming even saw traces of blood at one spot. How is it, Master? Lu Ming's worry grew, and he left the place. Not long after, he arrived near the Jiuxiao sword sect. The Jiuxiao sword sect was very peaceful. There were people going in and out. It looked peaceful, but Lu Ming saw a few figures in golden robes. They were obviously disciples of the Dai family. It seemed like Jiuxiao sword sect was already under evil spirits' control. Lu Ming left the place and headed south. And NBSB along the way, he passed by a few powerful sects and observed them in secret. He found that these sects were all controlled by evil spirit. It was obvious that many people had restrictions placed on them and had to listen to evil spirit's orders. It was obvious that evil spirit had already taken full control of all the major forces in the Azure continent. A few days later, Lu Ming arrived at the vicinity of Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming did not enter the Dragon God Valley. Instead, he waited outside. What? Not long after, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He saw a familiar face, the sect master of the Sky Demon sect. It seems that the evil spirit cult has also taken down Dragon God Valley. How are Xiangxiang and the others? Lu Ming was extremely worried. He restrained his aura and watched from afar. The sect master of the Sky Demon sect looked gloomy as he flew toward the north and disappeared. Lu Ming continued to wait. The next day, he saw a group of people flying out of Dragon God Valley. Senior brother Zifeng. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw Zifeng. The group of people flew into the distance, with Lu Ming following them from a distance. Senior brother Zifeng. After they were a distance away from Dragon God Valley, Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Zifeng. After hearing Lu Ming's voice, Zifeng's body trembled, but he quickly regained his composure. I suddenly remembered that I have something to do. I need to go back to Dragon God Valley. You guys go ahead. Zifeng and the others said. The others nodded and continued to fly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, Zifeng started to look around. Senior brother Zifeng, I'm in a valley to your left. Lu Ming's voice rang in Zifeng's ears. Zifeng's figure moved, and he flew to the left. He flew into a valley and saw Lu Ming. Junior brother Lu Ming, I heard that you've escaped. Many sect masters from Evil Spirit Sect and Sky Demon Sect are looking for you. Why did you come back? It's very dangerous. Zifeng said worriedly. Senior brother Zifeng, has the Evil Spirit cult already occupied Dragon God Valley? Lu Ming asked. Not bad. Zifeng sighed. More than 10 days ago, a large number of evil spirit cultivators descended upon Dragon God Valley. Most of the disciples in Dragon God Valley were captured. The other party has set up a restriction on our spirit god. As expected, senior brother Zifeng, do you know how Tian Shui and my disciple Lu Xiangxiang are doing? Lu Ming's heart tightened. Junior brother doesn't need to worry about this. At that time, the Valley Master saw the opportunity early and took Xiangxiang Bela, Tian Shui, and Xuaningxin a step ahead of time to rush out of Dragon God Valley. I don't know where they are now, but I heard that evil spirit has been looking for him, so he should be fine. It's a pity that most of the others were captured when they escaped. Zifeng laughed bitterly. He escaped. Lu Ming felt relieved. Ice Dragon Valley's Valley Master also knew about Xiangxiang Bela's talent. He must have brought Xiangxiang Bela, Tian Shui, and Xuaningxin to escape the moment he realized that something was wrong. A sect master like Ice Dragon Valley Master naturally knew how to make a decision. At the critical moment, he would naturally take away the most talented person. Only then would there be hope. Senior brother Zifeng, do you know how my master, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, is doing? Lu Ming asked again. Zifeng nodded and said, I've heard some news in secret. When you went to annihilate evil spirit, you were ambushed by the Dai family. Most of your people were captured and controlled by evil spirit. Only a few were killed. I heard that your master was seriously injured and was finally placed under a restriction by evil spirit. Master is fine. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It was good that his master was fine. He was just being controlled by the other party. Lu Ming would save him sooner or later. Senior brother, what else have you heard? For example, how many people have escaped? Lu Ming asked. I'm not sure either. It seems that many people have been caught, such as the sect master of the Heaven Seat King and the Lord of the Demon Castle. However, our Ice Dragon Patriarch seems to have escaped as well. The sect master of the Life and Death Sword sect has also escaped. Zifeng muttered. Has the Ice Dragon Patriarch also escaped? Lu Ming felt relieved again. The escape of the Ice Dragon Patriarch meant that Xian Yinqing had also escaped. Fortunately, things didn't develop in the worst direction. Xiangxiang Bela and the others were taken away by Ice Dragon Valley Master, and Xian Yinqing was taken away by Ice Dragon Patriarch. His master, the the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, had only been injured. He had fallen into the hands of the other party and had been controlled. Lu Ming was more or less at ease. Senior brother Zifeng, come with me, Lu Ming said. Junior brother, you should leave. I can't leave. The other party has placed a restriction on my spirit god. Every once in a while, I have to report. If I don't report within a certain period of time, the other party will activate the restriction and destroy my soul. Zifeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Detestable. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. This is how evil spirit uses to control people. Junior brother, leave quickly and leave the Azure continent. With your talent, you will have the chance to become an emperor in the future. I'll place my hopes on you and wait for you to come back to save me, Zifeng said with a slight smile. Senior brother Zifeng, take care. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Haha, don't worry. I'll definitely live well before junior brother returns. When junior brother returns, I'll drink to my heart's content with junior brother. Junior brother, let's go quickly. If we delay any longer, things might change. Zifeng said. Don't worry, senior brother. Lu Ming will definitely come back to save you and flatten evil spirit. Lu Ming nodded solemnly. Then his figure flashed and he left the valley. Chapter 1739. 1739, heading to ancient Moon Holy Land after parting ways with Zifeng, Lu Ming changed his appearance again and headed west. Now he planned to go from the west, pass through the Cloud Plain, enter the Cloud Sea mountain range, and head to the ancient Moon Holy Land. A few days later, Lu Ming arrived at the western part of the Azure region and entered the Cloud region. After some time, Lu Ming arrived near the Cloud Emperor Mountain. The Cloud Emperor Mountain has collapsed, Lu Ming muttered with a complicated look in his eyes. In the distance, the majestic Cloud Emperor Mountain collapsed. It was as if it had been struck by a boundless power. Here an emperor-level battle occurred. Emperor Yin was killed, and the Cloud Emperor Mountain collapsed. Lu Ming sighed. An emperor-level force had been destroyed just like that. Even a martial emperor had been killed. The Yuan continent was too big, and there were countless forces. This kind of thing probably happened everywhere. Even if one cultivated to the rank of a martial supreme, it was not guaranteed that one would be safe. There would always be someone stronger than one. Unless one had the combat strength to dominate the world, one might fall at any time. Lu Ming did not stay any longer. He took a few glances and left the place, heading west. What? Soon after, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. There was a group of people flying in front of them. There were about a dozen of them, and they were all wearing golden robes. They were filled with a noble aura, like emperors among people. Lu Ming was very familiar with one of the young men, Emperor Xian. Back then, Di Xian had brought people into the divine wilderness to help Di. He wanted to kill Lu Ming, but in the end, most of his subordinates were killed by Lu Ming, and he had to retreat in embarrassment. He didn't expect to meet Di Xian here. After so many years, Di Xian's cultivation had already broken through the martial royal realm and was now at LV5 martial royal realm. Among the dozen of people, there were 2 at the Saint realm, and the rest were high-level martial royal realm. Since we've met him, we should get rid of him and get rid of any future trouble. Otherwise, who knows when this guy will run to the divine wilderness continent to seek revenge. There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming took a step forward and walked towards the dozen D family members. Who is it? A Saint stage powerhouse looked at Lu Ming with a sharp gaze. The person who will kill you. A combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he slashed. A terrifying sword light flashed, and the Saint was killed in one strike without any chance to fight back. Not good, quickly call for help. Someone exclaimed. Kill. Lu Ming's combat sword swept across the sky. Given these people's combat strength, they could not stop Lu Ming at all. They were too far behind. With a slash of the sword, almost all of them were killed. Only one person was still alive, and that was Di Xian. At this moment, Di Xian was completely stunned. He stood in the air, his body trembling uncontrollably. He broke out in a cold sweat and looked at Lu Ming in horror. Brother, let's talk this out. Please spare my life. You are from the Cloud Emperor Mountain, right? Please leave. I will never tell anyone about this. I'm not from the Cloud Emperor Mountain, Lu Ming said. Not from the Cloud Emperor Mountain? Dician was stunned for a moment. He thought that it was the missing fish from the Cloud Emperor Mountain, who had come back for revenge. It turned out that he was not from the Cloud Emperor Mountain. You're so fast. Don't you remember me? Lu Ming sneered, and his appearance returned to normal. It's you. Dician's pupils constricted as he recognized Lu Ming. He had not expected that before he could go to the Divine Wilderness continent to look for Lu Ming had already arrived. Furthermore, his combat strength was so terrifying that even a saint could not take a single blow from him. His original plan was to seek revenge on Lu Ming in the Divine Wilderness, after he had broken through to the martial royal realm. However, many things had happened in the Di family, and he had many things to do. At this point in time, he did not go to the Divine Wilderness. He stayed in the Di family to make a name for himself. When the situation had stabilized, he would go to the Divine Wilderness to exterminate Lu Ming. He did not expect to meet Lu Ming here. He turned around and ran. However, Lu Ming slashed with his sword. Dician was dead. After killing Dician, Lu Ming felt more relaxed. He could now go to Ancient Moon Sanctuary in peace. After changing his appearance, Lu Ming left the place at top speed and headed west. Not long after Lu Ming left, the murder of Dician and the others was discovered. The Di family sent out a large number of experts to search for the murderer, but unfortunately, they could not find the murderer in the end. Lu Ming headed all the way to the west. He passed through the Clouds Plains and entered a vast mountain range. This was the Cloud Sea Mountain Range. The Cloud Ocean Mountain Range was filled with ancient trees and countless dangerous peaks. There were countless beasts living there, even quite a few absolute saint beasts. Lu Ming was careful. He slowed down and walked through the mountain range of the Sea of Clouds. He cultivated as he hurried along. After walking for 2 whole months, Lu Ming finally passed through the boundless sea of clouds and mountains and entered a place where humans gathered Feng Province. Feng Province also had an emperor-level powerhouse guarding it, and he was called Emperor Feng. After arriving at Feng Province, he finally did not have to travel carefully. Lu Ming took out the space-breaking flying shuttle that was 5 times faster, entered it, and flew away. Lu Ming's goal was to rush to the Ancient Moon Sanctuary and see if he could ask the powerful forces of the Ancient Moon Sanctuary to take action and annihilate evil spirit cult. Ordinary Emperor-level forces were useless. For example, the Cloud Emperor Mountain had been destroyed. After Lu Ming entered the space-breaking flying shuttle, he continued to cultivate. During the 2 months in the Cloud Sea Mountain Range, Lu Ming's main focus was to cultivate the chaotic finger of tribulation. After such a long period of cultivation, Lu Ming had finally successfully comprehended the chaotic finger of tribulation. Of course, it was only 10%, but its power was still terrifying. The primal chaos tribulation finger was a supernormal technique that used the primal chaos laws as the foundation. Even if it was only 1/10 of its power, it would still far surpass ordinary supernormal techniques. The finger of chaos tribulation had become Lu Ming's strongest killing move. Lu Ming's cultivation was also steadily improving, slowly approaching the mastery of the Bright Saint stage. Lu Ming cultivated in peace in the space-breaking flying shuttle. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Lu Ming had already crossed 6 big states and passed by 6 emperor-level forces. However, he was still very far from Ancient Moon Sanctuary. There are so many emperor-level forces scattered all over this land. Then, with Ancient Moon Holy Land as the center, how many emperor-level forces are there in the territory that stretches out? Each of these emperor-ranked powers has at least 1 emperor-ranked powerhouse in charge. How many emperor-ranked powerhouses are there? Also, there are 9 sacred lands in Mount Yuan. How many emperor-level powers are there? Not to mention that there are 10 lands in the Yuan continent. How many experts and emperor-level experts are there? I'm afraid it's hard to count. Then why did I hear that evil spirit had harmed the Yuan continent and was annihilated by countless forces? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. He was very curious. It was said that evil spirit had a leader, 2 vice leaders and 36 guardian kings, all of whom were emperor-level experts. Such a force was indeed terrifying, and incomparably terrifying. However, in the vast Yuan continent, it should not be considered much, right? In the vast Yuan continent, with so many monarch-level forces and so many monarch-level experts working together, they could easily destroy evil spirit cult, right? Perhaps because the Azure region is remote, most people don't have enough knowledge and think that evil spirit is the most terrifying power in the Yuan continent. Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 1740. 1740 Blood Jade Palace. After all, in the vast Yuan continent, the Gray region was only a small corner. It was located in the mountains of the distant sea, along with the Cloud region and the Emperor region. Most of the people in the Azure continent had no idea how big the world was, or how many powerful forces were outside of the Azure continent. In their eyes, Emperor Song was the most powerful existence in the world. As for evil spirit, they had dozens of emperor-level experts. Naturally, they thought that evil spirit was the most terrifying power in the Yuan continent. This was normal. Before Lu Ming went to the 100-clan battlefield, he did not expect that there would be so many emperor-level forces in the Yuan continent. I can't go on like this. I don't know how long I have to fly. I have to find a teleportation array. Otherwise, it will be too slow. Lu Ming pondered. However, in the Yuan continent, only emperor-level forces could build a teleportation formation. Go down and find out which emperor-ranked force this is. Lu Ming had a plan. He put away the space-breaking shuttle, stepped on the air, and landed in a big city. This is the Blood Jade State, ruled by the Blood Jade Palace. Isn't Su Ren a disciple of the Blood Jade Palace? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. In the 100-clan battlefield, Lu Ming and Su Ren got to know each other through a fight. In the end, they had a feeling of appreciation for each other, and their relationship was not bad. Later on, Su Ren was captured by the natives of the 100-clan battlefield. Lu Ming was also the one who saved him. When they parted, Su Ren had also invited Lu Ming to visit him at Blood Jade Palace when he was free. Since this was Blood Jade Palace's territory, he could find Su Ren and use the Blood Jade Palace's teleportation array to head to the ancient Moon Sanctuary. Immediately, Lu Ming asked for the direction to the Blood Jade Palace and flew there. Half a day later, Lu Ming arrived outside the Blood Jade Palace and sent a message to Su Ren. Not long after, he saw Su Ren flying out of Blood Jade Palace. Haha, Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to really come and look for me. Su Ren laughed and was quite surprised. Su Ren, you've broken through to the Saint Realm. Congratulations. Lu Ming sized Su Ren up and smiled. What's there to congratulate you for? You've probably broken through to the Saint Realm long ago, right? Su Ren sized Lu Ming up and realized that he could not see through Lu Ming's cultivation. I've also just broken through to the Sage Realm. Lu Ming smiled. I knew it. You must have broken through to the Saint Plane. Oh right, weren't you in the Azure continent? Why did he suddenly come to Blood Jade Palace? It can't be that you're here just to see me, right? Su Ren laughed. It's a long story. Lu Ming sighed. Evil spirit has been revived. The remnants of evil spirit have already occupied the Azure continent, the Emperor continent, and the Cloud continent. I had no choice but to run away. What? Evil spirit? Su Ren's face changed. Su Ren, how much do you know about evil spirit? Lu Ming asked. Su Ren came from an emperor-level force. He might know more about evil spirit than Lu Ming. I'm not particularly sure either. I only know that evil spirit religion appeared 80,000 years ago. They had a leader, 2 vice leaders, and 36 guardian kings. They were all emperor-level figures, and were extremely powerful. They specialized in killing emperor-level powerhouses and geniuses with the potential to become emperors. In the ancient Moon Holy Land, many forces changed their expressions when they talked about it. The most important thing is that evil spirit is good at controlling people, so their strength is stronger than what they seem on the surface. Back then, many powerful forces of ancient Moon Holy Land joined forces to annihilate evil spirit. I didn't expect evil spirit to actually revive and come out to do evil again. Su Ran frowned and said, "And NBSB. I'm here to go to Ancient Moon Holy Land and ask them to help us exterminate evil spirit." Lu Ming said, "Oh, that's good. I'm going to Ancient Moon Sanctuary soon too. We can go together." But Lu Ming, don't have too much hope in asking for help from the Ancient Moon Sanctuary's major forces. Su Ran said, "Why? And MBSB, since evil spirit was so dangerous, how could those powerful factions from Ancient Moon Holy Land ignore it? Ancient Moon Holy Land is divided by many powerful forces. Although there are many powerful forces, the competition between them is extremely fierce. They probably have no time to care about other things, and might not send many emperor-level figures to help you." Back then, it was evil spirit cult that angered those powerful forces of Ancient Moon Holy Land, which was why they were besieged by those forces. Su Ran said, "I see." Lu Ming furrowed his brows tightly. He understood that all forces prioritized their own interests. As long as their interests were not harmed, they would not care much. However, no matter how difficult it was, he had to try. If he could invite the help of a powerful force from Ancient Moon Holy Land, he would be able to save Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others earlier. "Lu Ming, don't be discouraged. I'll report this to the higher-ups. I can't decide what to do with them." Su Ran said, "Many thanks." Lu Ming cupped his fists. "It's a small matter. Lu Ming, let's go and stay in Blood Jade Palace for a few days. After 2 days, I'll go to Ancient Moon Sanctuary with you." Su Ran said. Lu Ming nodded and entered the Blood Jade Palace with Su Ran. Su Ran's status in Blood Jade Palace was very high. After arranging a courtyard for Lu Ming, he went to report the matter of evil spirit. 2 days later, Su Ran came to Lu Ming to inform him that the evil spirit incident had been reported, and that the Blood Jade Palace's Martial Emperor already knew about it. However, he did not know what the Martial Emperor would do. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, only a Martial Emperor could interfere in this matter. They could not interfere in the Martial Emperor's decision. "Lu Ming, let's go. We'll go to Ancient Moon Sanctuary. I heard that the Jade Lake Saintess from a major force in Ancient Moon Sanctuary has appeared and is interested in choosing a guardian. The geniuses of all the major forces around Ancient Moon Sanctuary have already set out. During this time, Ancient Moon Sanctuary will probably be very lively." Su Ran said with an expression of anticipation. "The Jade Lake Saint?" Lu Ming was puzzled. He knew nothing about Ancient Moon Holy Land. Yes, the Jade Lake is a very special force. It is full of women, all of whom are beautiful, especially the saintesses, who are as beautiful as fairies. Every 20 years, the Jade Lake will produce a batch of saintesses. This time, there are 9 saintesses in total. It's said that each of them is as beautiful as a fairy, like a goddess who has descended to the mortal world. Furthermore, they are extremely talented and have profound cultivation. If they can become Tao protectors, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Su Ran's eyes were already shining as he spoke. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He was not in the mood to look at beautiful women now. Immediately, Lu Ming and Su Ran walked towards the teleportation array of Blood Jade Palace. They stepped onto the teleportation formation and left Blood Jade Palace. Not long after, they appeared in an ancient city. This place was not Guyu Holy Land, but an ancient city outside Guyu Holy Land. The various emperor-ranked powers could not directly teleport to Ancient Moon Holy Land. They could only teleport to the ancient city outside Ancient Moon Holy Land, and then set out from the ancient city to Ancient Moon Holy Land. Lu Ming and Su Ran did not stay in the ancient city. They flew directly to the Ancient Moon Sanctuary. Not long after, a vast mountain appeared in front of them. The peaks rose into the sky like sharp swords. From afar, it was boundless and magnificent. Chapter 1741. 1741 Chapter 1741 First visit to the Holy Land. On the peak of the highest mountain, there was a huge stone tablet. It was hundreds of thousands of feet tall, and there were strange symbols flowing on the stone tablet. It emitted a light curtain that divided the heaven and earth into 2 halves, separating them. That's the boundary stone. Ancient Moon Holy Land is a holy land for cultivation. The original qi is rich, and the earth is beautiful. It's said that in the distant past, the powerful forces of ancient Moon Holy Land joined forces and created 108 boundary stones. They were erected around ancient Moon Holy Land, isolating it from the outside world to prevent the original chi from leaking and affecting ancient Moon Holy Land. Su Ran seemed to know the ancient Moon Holy Land very well. Seeing that Lu Ming had some doubts, he explained, "The boundary stone can only isolate the natural chi of heaven and earth. It doesn't stop living beings from entering and leaving. Let's go in." Su Ran continued. The two of them stepped into the air. When they passed through the light screen, there was no obstacle at all. The light screen rippled like water, and the two of them passed through it. What a dense origin chi! As soon as he passed through the light screen, Lu Ming could feel that the origin chi inside the light screen was several times denser than that outside. Moreover, it seemed to be clearer to comprehend the heaven and earth laws here. It's indeed a holy land for cultivation. The cultivation environment is much better than the outside world. It's two completely different worlds separated by a light screen. Lu Ming was shocked. Ancient Moon Holy Land, its territory is very vast, bigger than many big states. However, those who can establish a sect in Ancient Moon Holy Land and take root in Ancient Moon Holy Land are all extremely powerful and terrifying forces. Without strength, it is impossible to obtain a place in such a holy land. For example, those emperor-ranked forces outside the Holy Land do not have the qualifications to establish a sect in Ancient Moon Holy Land. Because their strength is not enough, they will be expelled by the powerful forces of Ancient Moon Holy Land. Su Ran said. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Even emperor-level forces could not establish a sect in Ancient Moon Sanctuary. How strong was Ancient Moon Sanctuary? Su Ran had been to Ancient Moon Holy Land before, and was familiar with it. He led the way, and the two of them chatted as they walked. Not long after, a vast building complex appeared in front of the two. Although it was far away, Lu Ming could still see that there were people coming and going among the buildings. It was very lively. This is one of the buildings in Ancient Moon Holy Land. There are many powerful forces in Ancient Moon Holy Land with many disciples. There are also many cultivators from outside of Ancient Moon Holy Land. These people will gather here to buy treasures and so on. It is very lively, Su Ran said. Lu Ming nodded. This building complex was like a city, except that there were no city walls. The two of them flew forward and landed on the ground. They found that the streets were crisscrossed, and the shops formed a forest. The two of them strolled along the streets. So many experts. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room, and he was secretly shocked. He realized that the people walking on the streets were all experts. Their auras were thick, their chi and blood were like fire, and they were filled with saint might. Many of them were actually experts of the saint realm. Even if the others were not saints, they were at least half saints, and the lowest was a high-level martial royal realm. Saints were considered experts in the Azure region, but here, they could be seen everywhere. It's indeed Guyu Holy Land, one of the 9 holy lands of Yuan Mountain. There are too many experts. Lu Ming sighed. There were many powerful sects in the Ancient Moon Holy Land. Within these sects, there were probably as many saints as there were hairs on an ox. After all, there were 13 top sects in the Azure continent, and many small and medium-sized forces. Adding them all up, there were quite a few saints. However, even if the entire Azure continent was added together, it wouldn't even be comparable to an emperor-ranked power. However, in Guyu Holy Land, any force was much stronger than emperor-level forces. One could imagine how many saints there were. In addition, there were many experts from emperor-ranked powers who came to Ancient Moon Holy Land, so it was not surprising that there were many experts here. Lu Ming realized that even the waiter who was standing in front of the shop and shouting was a half-saint, which made him speechless. So many saint weapons. He strolled through a few shops and realized that the items on display were all holy weapons. There were even great holy weapons and absolute holy weapons. There were also many other precious treasures that dazzled Lu Ming. Lu Ming went to a shop and asked if there were any absolute Saint True Dragon bones, or absolute Saint True Dragon blood essence. He did not expect that there was one, but the price was ridiculously high. Lu Ming had once used the reincarnation halberd to kill 2 absolute saints in the Tianyu demonic sect and obtained their storage rings. He was considered rather rich. However, he realized that he could not afford an absolute saint's true dragon bone and blood essence. It was simply too expensive. True dragons were the top existences, even among thousands of divine beasts. They were very rare, especially the absolute saints, which was why they were so expensive. Lu Ming was speechless. He had thought that he was already quite rich, but when he came to Ancient Moon Sanctuary, he realized that he had become a pauper. In the end, Lu Ming bought some spiritual liquid to water the path understanding ancient tree. Then, he and Su Ran found an inn to stay in. He would first settle down here, and then find an opportunity to come into contact with the powerful forces of the Ancient Moon Holy Land. Lu Ming thought of Huang Ling and Yi Dongfang. They were in Ancient Moon Holy Land, but it was very big. He had just arrived, and did not know where their sects were. The distance was too far, and it was difficult to transmit his voice. Lu Ming, the Jade Lake Saint will appear in 7 days to look for guardians. By then there will be a gathering of geniuses. Maybe we can meet Yi Dongfang and the others. This was Su Ran's suggestion. Lu Ming nodded. That was indeed the case. Even if he did not meet Huang Ling and the rest, things would be much easier if he met his acquaintances from the 100 Clan battlefield. Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram. After he entered the room in the inn, there was a flash of light, and the bubble rushed into Lu Ming's arms. Brother Lu Ming, Bubbles is so bored here. Chirpy. Bubbles pouted. Be good, Paoba. I'll take you out for a walk in a few days. Lu Ming touched Bubbles' small head. Alright, Chirpy. Bubbles jumped up happily, and skipped to the side to cultivate. Lu Ming went to the path understanding ancient tree, and sat down cross-legged. Then a saint weapon appeared in his hand. It was a great saint weapon. He planned to cultivate the 10,000 soldiers scroll. During this period of time, Lu Ming had been so focused on comprehending the chaos finger of tribulation that he had neglected to cultivate the 10,000 soldiers scroll. In the Azure continent, he had obtained the storage rings of a few absolute saints. There were many great saint weapons in them, which he could seal into his Bodis acupoints. Lu Ming did not plan to seal ordinary bright saint weapons into his body for the time being. After all, there was a limit to how much they could improve. If he wanted to seal them, he would seal great saint weapons. Lu Ming's body glowed as he began to seal the great holy weapon. A great saint weapon was powerful, but it also placed a heavy burden on one's body. However, Lu Ming's current spiritual body was a medium-grade heaven spiritual body, but its strength was equivalent to a high-grade earth spiritual body. His cultivation had also reached the sage realm. It would not be a problem for him to continue sealing great sage weapons. Chapter 1742. 1742. The Sacred Land's powerful forces buzz. One of Lu Ming's acupuncture points glowed. It was extremely bright, like a small sun. Then the great saint weapon flew into the acupoint. Instantly, more than 100 spots of light lit up on Lu Ming's body, and a saint weapon could be vaguely seen floating in each spot. The chi of more than 100 holy weapons and combat weapons linked together, forming a powerful pressure. Lu Ming felt his acupuncture points swell. If his body was not strong enough, it would have exploded. Fortunately, Lu Ming's physical body was strong enough, and he managed to withstand it. Slowly, the great saint weapon was sealed in the acupoint, connecting with the other saint weapons. 2 great saint weapons, but it's still not enough. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He had already sealed 1 great saint weapon before this, and with this one, he had a total of 2. However, Lu Ming felt that he had not reached his limit, and could continue to seal. Then, Lu Ming took out a great holy weapon, and started to seal it. Cultivation knew no time, and 7 days passed in a flash. Lu Ming had sealed a total of 4 great holy weapons, before he felt that his physical body had reached its limit. And NBSB he then focused on cultivating the primal chaos tribulation finger. The cultivation of divine power techniques could complement the laws. The improvement of the divine power technique would also improve the comprehension of the laws. Naturally, Lu Ming would not slack off. After spending a month in the space-breaking flying shuttle, and a few days of cultivation, his mastery of the primal chaos tribulation finger had increased. It had already reached 15%. One shouldn't underestimate this 5%. If a complete set of nomological laws was divided into 100 parts, it would be equivalent to an increase of 5 parts, and its power would also increase by a large margin. For a sacred art, the power would also increase with every slight increase in the heat. At this moment the Jade Pool meeting began. The two of them headed in the direction of the Jade Lake. Not only them, but many people in the buildings were also heading in that direction. Many of them were young Heaven's Pride talents, which showed how attractive the Jade Lake Saint was. Not long after, they arrived at a large lake. The lake water was clear, like a mirror embedded in the ground. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they realized that there were already many people there. They were walking on the lake. They're all top-tier Heaven's favorites. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the crowd and noticed that each of the geniuses had a strong aura. Their chi and blood were like fire, and their spirit bodies were extremely powerful. Many of them were actually heavenly spiritual bodies, and their cultivation had basically reached the saint realm. There are so many Heaven's favorites. Is the charm of the Jade Lake Saint so strong that she can attract so many Heaven's favorites? Lu Ming was very surprised. There were cultivators and martial arts powerhouses who liked beautiful women, but most people still focused on martial arts and were obsessed with cultivation. After all, the higher the cultivation, the longer the lifespan. Reaching the emperor level, one would have an almost endless lifespan, which was what many people pursued. But now, the birth of the Jade Lake Saint had attracted so many Heaven's favorites, which was strange. These are all Heaven's favorites from the emperor-level forces outside of the ancient Moon Holy Land. These people are not here just for beauty. The Jade Lake Saint is so beautiful that countless Heaven's favorites are attracted by her beauty, but most of them are here for the Jade Lake's resources. Each of the Jade Lake Saintesses is devastatingly beautiful. Since ancient times, many powerful Heaven's favorites have become her guardians. Many of these Heaven's favorites have great achievements in the future. Some of them even became emperors. They left many cultivation experiences and ancient scriptures in the Jade Lake. There are thousands of laws in the world, but the Jade Pool is said to contain the cultivation experience and divine power techniques of 50% of the laws in the world. Many of these supreme talents came for the cultivation experience and ancient scriptures. Su Ran explained, and Lu Ming came to a realization. The cultivation experience of a magical power technique that contains 50% of the world's laws. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. If that was true, then it was too terrifying. In that case, did the Jade Pool have the superpower technique or cultivation experience of the 10 ultimate laws? There are so many people here today. Let's go. A cold voice sounded. A young man in a golden robe with a noble temperament stepped on the air and stood above everyone. Ancient Moon Sanctuary's one family's Heaven's favorite, Wan Tianlong. Someone exclaimed in a low voice as he recognized the young man. The Wan family. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Back then, in the 100 Clan battlefield, he had killed Wan Tiancheng, a prodigy of the Wan family. He had also obtained the Wan family's unique secret skill, the 10,000 Soldiers Scroll. Wan Tianlong's eyes were cold and arrogant. With his hands behind his back, he looked at the other Heaven's favorites with disdain. Isn't he just from a Holy Land faction? What's there to be proud of? A red-haired young man near Lu Ming's group mumbled unhappily. He looked at Wan Tianlong with eyes full of fighting spirit. Many of the Heaven's Pride experts that came here came from Emperor-ranked powers, and the majority of them were the strongest Heaven's Pride experts of Emperor-ranked powers. After all, even in the Monarch-level forces, the heavenly spiritual body was extremely rare. For example, there was no one with the heavenly spiritual body in the Cloud Emperor Mountain. These geniuses were usually high and mighty, dominating a region. Naturally, they were proud. Now that Wan Tianlong was standing above them and looking down on them with cold arrogance, many people were naturally displeased. Whoosh! At this moment, a brilliant sword light shot over. The sword light faded, and a young man in a gray robe appeared. He carried a combat sword on his back. His entire person was sharp, like a divine sword. It's a powerful force from ancient Moon Holy Land, the heaven's favorite of the wilderness sword sect. There were also people who recognized this person's identity. The powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land began to send their heaven's favorites. Then, a bolt of lightning flashed, and a young man in a long robe made of lightning appeared. Some people recognized him as the genius of the Thunder God sect. Yi Dongfang is from the Thunder God sect. It's a pity that he didn't come. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Ga! Ga! At this time, two long cries were heard. Two golden rays of light shot over at an extremely fast speed. The next moment, the golden light disappeared and two huge three-legged golden crows appeared in the sky. The chosen of the Golden Crow clan. Many people's expressions changed and became very serious. The Golden Crow clan, without a doubt, was a terrifying force. Even among the many powerful forces in ancient Moon Holy Land, they were at the top, extremely powerful and terrifying. The Golden Crow race was filled with experts, and every generation would produce many heaven's favorites. The two three-legged golden crows scanned the surroundings and turned into two golden-robed young men. The 10th Golden Crow Prince. There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. One of them was the 10th Golden Crow Prince. Judging by his aura, he had clearly broken through to the sage realm. He seemed to be more than an initial bright sage. The other person's aura was even more terrifying than the 10th Golden Crow Prince's. From the discussions of the people around him, that person was the 9th Prince of the Golden Crow. Lu Ming. The 10th Golden Crow Prince's eyes were like lightning as he scanned his surroundings. Finally, his gaze landed on Lu Ming, and a cold killing intent flashed through his eyes. Lu Ming was fearless as he looked at the 10th Golden Crow Prince. Chapter 1743. 1743, the Jade Lake Saint 10th brother, what's wrong? The 9th Prince of the Golden Crow also looked at Lu Ming. It's nothing. I just met an ant. I'll find an opportunity to solve it myself. The Golden Crow 10th Prince said. The Golden Crow 9th Crown Prince nodded and didn't say much. Su Ran, it's you. Hee. I didn't expect a waste like you would come to the Jade Lake. Suddenly, a contemptuous voice rang out behind Lu Ming and the group. Lu Ming and Su Ran turned around and saw a young man in a purple robe. He had his hands behind his back and was looking at Su Ran with contempt. Tuoba Fei, you're here too. Su Ran's face darkened. Of course I'm here. I'm destined to be the guardian of the Jade Lake. But you, a piece of trash who doesn't even have a heavenly spirit body, also came to the Jade Lake. It's really like a lazy toad that wants to eat swan meat. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Tuoba Fei sneered and his contempt grew. Su Ran's face turned red. He wanted to refute, but his talent was far inferior to the other parties, so he couldn't. Su Ran, what's going on? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Su Ran. This person is a heaven's favorite from an emperor-ranked force. He's close to Blood Jade Palace, and the two forces often have conflicts. Su Ran gave a simple explanation. Lu Ming immediately understood. It was obvious that Blood Jade Palace and Tuoba Fei's forces had a grudge against each other. Now that they had met, Tuoba Fei would naturally actively attack Su Ran. What's wrong? A piece of trash who doesn't even have a heaven spiritual body should obediently stay in Blood Jade Palace. Coming to Ancient Moon Sanctuary is only a disgrace. Tuoba Fei continued to sneer. Su Ran clenched his fists, and the veins on his face twitched. He wanted to fight with his opponent to wash away his shame, but he knew very well that he was no match for his opponent. Where did this mad dog come from, barking here and there? It's so annoying. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke calmly. Su Ran was slightly stunned. Tuoba Fei's face darkened. He squinted and looked at Lu Ming. Brat, who are you calling a mad dog? Who should say who? Lu Ming smiled. Tuoba Fei's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Kid, do you know that you have to pay a price for saying some words? Some prices are not something you can bear. The rabid dog is going to bite. Lu Ming said indifferently. Brat, you're looking for death. Tuoba Fei's gaze turned even colder. He took a step forward and his powerful aura pressed toward Lu Ming. Great mastery of Bright Saint. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Tuoba Fei had reached the upper tier of the Bright Saint stage and had a heavenly spiritual body. No wonder he was so arrogant and looked down on Su Ran. If he was in the Azure continent, he would be able to easily crush the divine sun. The Jade Lake has appeared. Suddenly, a cry of surprise reverberated through the entire area. Buzz! Ripples appeared in the sky, and then a vast palace appeared out of thin air. The palaces were endless, as if they were in the void. Apart from the palace in front that could be seen clearly, the palaces behind were blurry and could not be seen clearly at all. It was as if they were immortal palaces. The Jade Lake had another name, which was the Jade Lake Divine Palace. The appearance of the Jade Lake Divine Palace attracted everyone's attention, including Tuoba Fei. Brat, I'll let you off for now, Tuoba Fei said coldly, as he looked at the Jade Lake Divine Palace. Lu Ming smiled faintly, and did not take it to heart. At this moment, the gate of the Jade Lake Divine Palace opened, and a woman in palace clothes walked out. The woman looked to be in her 40s, but she still retained her charm and lithe figure. She must have been a devastatingly beautiful woman when she was young. The Jade Lake Saint is coming out today. Thank you for your support. The voice of the woman in the court dress spread through the entire place. I'm sure all of you know that the Holy Virgin of the Jade Lake is interested in choosing a guardian. Well, support each other and walk on the great path together. Of course, it's up to your fate whether you can become a guardian or not. The woman continued. The paragons did not make a sound. They just waited quietly. He was waiting for the Jade Lake Saint to appear. There are 9 Jade Lake Saintesses in this generation. I'll ask them to come out now. The woman in the court dress waved her hand, and another wave appeared in the sky. Then, many pavilions appeared out of thin air, floating in the air. In each pavilion, there was a jade table. On the jade table, there were dishes and wine. And at each of the jade tables, there was a peerless beauty. There were 9 pavilions, 9 jade tables and 9 beautiful women. Each of them was devastatingly beautiful, like fairies descending to the mortal world. Each of them had their own charm, and their temperaments were completely different. It's so beautiful. Not far away, Tuoba Fei's eyes were wide open, burning with passion. It wasn't just him, many people were the same. The Jade Lake Saintess was indeed too beautiful. Each of them was a rare beauty in the world. What was even rarer was that each of the Jade Lake Saintesses had a rare talent in martial arts and a profound cultivation. However, what surprised Lu Ming was not their beauty. Although they were beautiful, Xian Yanqing was definitely better than them. What surprised Lu Ming was their talent. All of them had heavenly spiritual bodies. Lu Ming was shocked. Some monarch-level forces didn't even have a heavenly spiritual body, but 9 of them had come from the Jade Lake Immortal Palace, and each of them was a rare beauty. So this is one of the powerful forces in the Guyu Holy Land? It's truly shocking. Lu Ming muttered. 9 pavilions, 9 saintesses. Today, whoever can get on one of the pavilions will be able to drink wine and discuss martial arts with the Jade Lake Saintess. The woman's voice rang out again, causing many people's eyes to glow with a burning light. There were only 9 pavilions and 9 beauties. However, there were so many heaven's favorites here. To be able to enter a pavilion was not only to be able to drink with a beauty, it was also an honor. Who is willing to come up and drink with this little sister? In the first pavilion, a crisp voice rang out. The woman by the jade table stood up and waved her hand. A jade ladder extended down from the pavilion and landed on the lake. Haha, then let me go first. Ha ha ha. A loud laugh rang out as Wan Tianlong, the pride of the Wan family, stepped out and landed on the jade stairs. Then he walked up the jade stairs. Many people's eyes fell on Wan Tianlong, including the 2 crown princes of the Golden Crow race, the prodigies of the Thunder God sect, the Great Baron Sword sect, and other powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land. However, these heaven's favorites didn't move. There were 9 pavilions, so they were not in a hurry. I've also taken a fancy to this pavilion. Please leave. A deep voice rang out. Near Lu Ming and the others, a young man with fiery red hair took a step forward and landed on the jade steps as well. His body was covered in terrifying flames. Get lost. Wan Tianlong's eyes gleamed coldly. A light spot appeared in his palm, and a great saint weapon appeared. He swung it at the red-haired youth. Heaven-burning flames. The red-haired young man let out a loud roar as he unleashed all of his cultivation. He struck out with his palms continuously, and terrifying flames formed into a pillar of fire that shot towards Wan Tianlong. Chapter 1744. 1744. Fighting for the right to drink. The red-haired young man's combat strength was extremely terrifying. His cultivation had reached the upper tier of the bright saint realm, and he had a low-tier heavenly spiritual body. What surprised Lu Ming even more was that the other party had cast a sacred art. A heaven's favorite of an emperor-rank power like this was truly terrifying. A peak bright saint had already comprehended a sacred art. One must know that in the Azure continent, there were many old monsters who had been stuck at the great circle of the bright saint stage for tens of thousands of years, but they had not been able to comprehend a sacred art. Although this kind of genius had the same cultivation level as the remnant, he could kill the remnant in one move. Boom! Wan Tianlong's combat sword struck the pillar of fire, causing a terrifying tremor. The red-haired youth's body trembled, and he was forced to retreat. Using 10% of your power to deal with me, you overestimate yourself. I'll go with you, Wan Tianlong said coldly. Spots of light began to light up around him. There were a total of 36 spots, and from each spot of light, a saint weapon flew out. However, they were all bright saint weapons. In addition to his great saint weapon, he now had a total of 37 saint weapons. The chi of the battle weapons converged into a terrifying sword chi, slashing toward the red-haired youth. The red-haired young man roared and used his sacred art again, blasting out a pillar of fire. But this time, the fire pillar was directly split apart by the sword light. The sword light did not stop, and continued to slash towards the red-haired youth. The red-haired youth was shocked and quickly retreated, but it was still too late. He was swept by the sword light, and his body was cut in half. He turned into two balls of fire and quickly retreated. They merged together in the distance with difficulty, and returned to human form. However, his face was pale and his aura was somewhat weak. Although his spiritual body was a fire spiritual body, the sword just now had still injured him severely. Wan Tianlong laughed coldly. With his saint weapon around him, he continued to climb up the jade stairs. In the surroundings, no one stepped forward to fight with Wan Tianlong. Wan Tianlong was too strong. The red-haired youth's combat strength was already strong enough, but he still couldn't withstand a single strike from Wan Tianlong, and was severely injured. Furthermore, no one knew how much power Wan Tianlong had used. Since there were still 8 pavilions, there was no need to fight with Wan Tianlong. When Wan Tianlong successfully stepped onto the pavilion, the jade staircase beneath the pavilion disappeared. Young master, please sit. On the pavilion, the Jade Lake Saint smiled and personally poured wine for Wan Tianlong, causing many to be envious. Holy maiden, please. With a wave of his hand, Wan Tianlong sat at the jade table with the jade pool's holy maiden and drank wine. At this moment, the Jade Lake Saint stood up from the second pavilion. She also raised her hand, and a jade ladder formed. Which young man would like to drink with this little sister? A melodious voice sounded. This lay will drink a cup with you, miss. The heaven's favorite of the Thunder God sect laughed, and moved like a flash of lightning. The next moment he appeared on the jade steps. Then he looked around and said, Who wants to compete with me? If not, then this cup of wine will belong to me. I'll fight you. A voice was heard as a sovereign stepped onto the jade stairs. At the same time, a spear radiance burst out, piercing the air and stabbing towards the sovereign of the Thunder God sect. This young man's combat strength was definitely strong as well, not weaker than the red-haired young man from before. Thunder Punishment Hand. The paragon of the Thunder God sect waved his palm. Endless lightning flashed and condensed into a huge thunder palm print, which smashed toward the young man. Boom! The spear radiance shattered, and the young man was blasted off the jade steps without any resistance. His entire body was charred black, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. He was severely injured in one move. What terrifying battle strength! Many people gasped. Was this a heaven's favorite from a powerful faction in ancient Moon Holy Land? Their combat prowess was simply too strong, easily crushing the geniuses of the other emperor-ranked powers. The level of the spirit body is the same, but the cultivation level is stronger, and the mastery of the divine art is deeper. Lu Ming's eyes were burning. He could tell that both Wan Tianlong and the prodigy of the Thunder God sect had reached the peak of the sacred brightness stage. Although their spiritual bodies were still low-tier heavenly spiritual bodies, their abhijnas were more advanced. With a higher cultivation base and more powerful divine abilities, he could easily crush the other chosen. Many of the heavens' favorites from the emperor-ranked forces had ugly expressions. If the heavens' favorites from ancient Moon Holy Land were all so strong, what chance did they have? The paragon of the Thunder God sect showed his powerful strength. No one dared to fight with him. He stepped into the pavilion easily and drank with the Jade Lake Saint. Then, the saintess in the third pavilion formed a jade ladder like before. This time, a golden light flashed, and the ninth prince of the Golden Crow stepped onto the jade stairs. The ninth prince of the Golden Crow was extremely arrogant. He looked around and no one dared to fight. The Golden Crow race was incomparably powerful to begin with. The ninth crown prince's aura was oppressive, and no one dared to fight him. He easily ascended the third pavilion. Following that, the fourth pavilion was also stepped onto by a heaven's favorite from a powerful ancient Moon Holy Land faction. This faction was called the Purple Extreme Sect. The paragon of the Purple Extreme Sect was also extremely powerful and unfathomable. He heavily injured a paragon who went up to fight with one move and stepped into the pavilion. Then in the fifth pavilion, the young man with the sword on his back from the Wilderness Sword Sect stepped onto the jade ladder. I don't believe that all the geniuses from ancient Moon Holy Land are this strong. This pavilion is mine. A young man shouted and rushed up the jade ladder, trying to compete with the Wilderness Sword Sect. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out. Then everyone saw a flash of sword light. Following that, the young man who had gone up to fight for the sword retreated frantically. He retreated a few thousand meters and stood in the air motionless. The next moment, a bloody gash appeared on the young man's glabella. Then his body was cut in half and fell into the lake below. He was dead. A heaven's spiritual body was killed just like that. Everyone only saw a flash of sword light. It was so terrifying. The heaven's favorite from the Wilderness Sword Sect looked cold and emotionless. He stepped up and no one dared to fight for it. He entered the pavilion smoothly. There were already 5 pavilions that had been occupied. Then, the 6th and 7th pavilions were all occupied by the geniuses of the ancient Moon Holy Land. The geniuses of the emperor-ranked forces outside the ancient Moon Holy Land didn't even step into a single pavilion. At this moment, everyone's gazes were cast towards the last 2 pavilions. There were only 2 left, and almost all of the geniuses from ancient Moon Holy Land had stepped onto it. The remaining people didn't seem that strong, like the Golden Crow's 10th prince. When the jade stairs to the 8th pavilion appeared, a few figures rushed up at the same time. One of them was the 10th Golden Crow prince. Get lost! The 10th Golden Crow prince was extremely domineering. His entire body was covered in the flames of the great sun. With a single swipe of his claws, the sky was filled with flames. The cultivation of the 10th Golden Crow prince was at the great circle of sacred brightness. You're the one who should get lost. The others weren't weak either. They unleashed their cultivation and fought with the 10th Golden Crow prince. For a time, it was difficult to determine who was superior in the battle. Buzz! 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 At this moment, another 5 or 6 figures rushed up the jade stairs, making the battle even more intense. This was the most intense battle. Those who had stepped onto the jade stairs before were all too strong. They completely crushed the others and couldn't fight. But now there was no one who could completely suppress them, so the battle was naturally intense. Everyone wanted to fight for one of the last 2 pavilions. Chapter 1745. 1745 Chapter 1745 One Punch One Kill. There are so many heaven's favorites. Lu Ming was also watching. Any one of these heaven's favorites could easily crush the divine sun. If they were placed in the Azure continent, they would be the heavens' favorites of the entire continent. No one would be able to defeat them. But here, there was a pile of them. The battle went on for half an hour. In the end, a peak bright saint, a heaven's favorite from outside the Holy Land, stepped into the pavilion first. Although this proud son of heaven's cultivation had also reached the peak of a bright saint, his combat strength was obviously lower than Wan Tianlong and the others. He could not crush them, so it took him a lot of effort to get onto the pavilion. Damn it, the last pavilion is definitely mine. The 10th Golden Crow Prince didn't step onto the pavilion and was in a bad mood. There was only one pavilion left. Everyone's eyes were on the last pavilion. Some of the heaven's favorites who didn't fight just now showed their battle intent, like Tuoba Fei. When the 9th pavilion's jade stairs descended, at least a dozen figures rushed up the jade stairs. Get lost! Kill! Roars rang out as a dozen heaven's favorites started to fight. Tuoba Fei also joined the battle and tried his best to charge forward. As long as he was the first to reach the pavilion, he would win, and the others would retreat. However, none of the other heaven's favorites were weak. None of them dared to compete for the position. Needless to say, they had the heavenly spiritual body, and their cultivation had all reached the upper tier of Bright Saint. If they did not have the combat power to suppress the others, it would be difficult for them to make it. All sorts of light glowed as sacred art techniques burst forth and collided intensely. Symbols flickered on the jade stairs and the pavilion. The terrifying force was offset when it landed on them. Gah! The Golden Crow let out a cry as the 10th Golden Crow Prince transformed into his three-legged Golden Crow form. His wings were like blades, and he was suffused with the Grand Sun True Fire. He was extremely terrifying, and normal heaven's favorites of the same level weren't his match. Tuoba Fei was also fighting with all his might, but in the end, he was sent flying by the Golden Crow 10th Prince's claw. He was sent flying in the air, and even his hair was on fire. Detestable! Tuoba Fei roared, unwilling to give up. Lu Ming and Su Ran glanced at Tuoba Fei subconsciously. To their surprise, Tuoba Fei caught their eyes. He had just been blasted down, and his hair was burnt. He was in an extremely sorry state. At this moment, he saw the look in Lu Ming and Su Ran's eyes. It was as if he saw the two of them mocking him. He was instantly enraged and vented all his anger on the two of them. What are you looking at? You're just a piece of trash. You don't even dare to fight for it. You're a toad lusting after a swan's meat. What a joke! Tuoba Fei shouted coldly. In particular, when he recalled that Lu Ming had called him a mad dog, he was even more furious. Lu Ming and Su Ran did not respond. They continued to watch the battle on the jade stairs, ignoring Tuoba Fei. Get lost, you two pieces of trash. Don't be an eyesore here. Seeing that the two of them dared to ignore him, Tuoba Fei was even more furious. He moved and appeared beside Su Ran, slapping him. Su Ran was shocked and quickly retreated. However, Tuoba Fei's speed was too fast for him to dodge. At this moment, Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and it collided with Tuoba Fei's palm. Tuoba Fei's body trembled, and he felt that the bones in his hand were about to break. He could not help but take 2 steps back, and looked at Lu Ming in shock. He had felt that the power in Lu Ming's palm was extremely terrifying, as if it was going to shatter his entire body. You're a mad dog. It seems that I have to teach you a lesson. Lu Ming stepped forward, his palm as sharp as a knife, and struck at Tuoba Fei at lightning speed. The terrifying pressure completely enveloped Tuoba Fei, like Mount Tai pressing down on him. It was unstoppable. Tuoba Fei was shocked, and took out a saint weapon to block it. However, when Lu Ming's palm hit the saint weapon, Tuoba Fei's saint weapon was deformed, and then exploded. Tuoba Fei's eyes widened. Although it was a bright holy weapon, it was absolutely sturdy and immortal. However, it had been blown apart by Lu Ming's palm, which shocked him greatly. The terrifying power made Tuoba Fei spit out blood and retreat. Buzz! Lu Ming took a step forward, and appeared above Tuoba Fei's head in an instant. He stomped on Tuoba Fei's face. Tuoba Fei screamed in pain, and his body fell into the lake like a cannonball. Su Ran was dumbfounded. Lu Ming's combat strength had completely exceeded his expectations. When he first met Lu Ming in the 100 Clan battlefield, Lu Ming's cultivation was much lower than his. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he was not as good as him. Later on, Lu Ming had surpassed him. In the end, when they escaped from the 100-clan battlefield, although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he was still far from what he was now. It had only been a short while since they last met, but Lu Ming could already abuse Tuo Buffet, as if he was a puppy. Even his bright sacred weapon was shattered by Lu Ming with a single palm. What kind of combat strength was that? Tuo Buffet could not react in time. Su Ran, didn't you want to go up? I'll walk you up, Lu Ming said, then walked towards the 9th pavilion. Su Ran then reacted and subconsciously followed Lu Ming. The two of them, one after the other, stepped onto the jade stairs. Where did this brat come from? Get lost. On the jade stairs, there was a young man who looked like a black gorilla. His arms were thicker than other people's thighs, and he was more than 3 meters tall. He threw a fist the size of a human head at Lu Ming's head, causing a dull roar in the air. This young man had not seen Lu Ming make a move when they were fighting on the jade stairs. Now he wanted to punch Lu Ming down. Lu Ming also threw a punch. Thump. The two fists collided, and the sound of bones breaking rang out. The black gorilla youth's eyes popped out. His fist had already completely exploded. Get lost. Lu Ming stepped forward and swung his palm. A huge palm formed and slapped the young gorilla down the jade stairs. The gazes of many onlookers in the surroundings fell on Lu Ming. This person is so strong. He can easily crush the others. Could it be another prodigy from a holy land? I don't think so. He came here with Blood Jade Palace's Su Ran. Many people were guessing Lu Ming's identity. The paragons in the other 8 pavilions looked at Lu Ming with curiosity. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. His soul attack followed his voice and rushed toward the other geniuses on the jade stairs. Their bodies trembled. Then, Lu Ming threw a punch at them, one by one, and they fell down. What a powerful soul force. From the first pavilion, Wan Tianlong spoke. However, his voice was still calm. Lu Ming's soul power was not bad, and his combat strength was quite strong, but he was not a threat to him. Lu Ming blasted a few people down in succession and strode forward. There were still a few people in front of him who had been fighting, but they all stopped and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, it's you. The 10th Golden Crow Prince's eyes narrowed when he saw Lu Ming. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. Get down. Lu Ming glanced at the few of them casually. He did not stop and strode forward. Everyone, let's join forces and blast this brat down. How about it? The 10th Golden Crow Prince's eyes gleamed with a sharp light. Chapter 1746. 1746 Saint Ziling. Alright. Let's join forces and defeat this person. We'll fight again. Attack! At that moment, the other paragons and the 10th Golden Crow Prince charged at Lu Ming. Their combined might was terrifying, as they used all sorts of divine abilities to obliterate Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyelids did not even move. His palm shook and slashed out like a blade. Lu Ming's body was flowing with the power of the law of chaos. There seemed to be a prison-suppressing steel in his palm that could suppress everything. Bang! 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 As the palm struck down, the divine abilities and techniques were scattered like bubbles. Lu Ming was like an immortal god of war, as he continued to step forward, not allowing any spells to touch him. The 10th Golden Crow Prince and company's faces turned ugly. The few of them joined forces, but they could not do anything to Lu Ming. Get down! Lu Ming said coldly, and continued to strike with his palm. A few of them did their best to exchange blows with Lu Ming. They trembled as if they had been electrocuted, and were sent flying. The chi and blood in their bodies churned, and the bones in their arms seemed to be about to crack. Lu Ming had already shown mercy. If he had given it his all, no one here would survive. Only the 10th Prince of the Golden Crow clan was still on the jade stairs. He looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Why aren't you getting lost? Lu Ming said coldly. Lu Ming, this is the ancient Moon Holy Land. My Golden Crow clan is in the ancient Moon Holy Land. Give me some face, and give me this pavilion. I can let bygones be bygones for the 100-clan battlefield. The 10th Golden Crow Prince sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. I'm giving you face, but who do you think you are? Get lost. Lu Ming shouted and grabbed one of the Golden Crow 10th Prince's wings. With a swing, he threw the Golden Crow 10th Prince out. This 10th Prince of the Golden Crow clan was a joke. He couldn't win, so he used the Golden Crow clan to threaten him. He didn't believe that the elders of the Golden Crow clan would have the nerve to intervene in a fight between peers. Therefore, he didn't need to be nice to the 10th Golden Crow Prince. Lu Ming. The 10th Golden Crow Prince steadied himself in the distance. He gritted his teeth and glared at Lu Ming. In another pavilion, the 9th Crown Prince of the Golden Crow's eyes also turned cold. Who the hell dared to call the 10th Golden Crow Prince? What about him? Scolding the 10th Golden Crow Prince like that was the same as scolding him. The 10th Golden Crow Prince was thrown down the jade stairs. There was no one left on the jade stairs. Su Ran, let's go. Lu Ming looked at Su Ran, who was in a daze. He stepped forward and walked into the 9th pavilion with Su Ran. The 9 pavilions were all occupied. How should I address this young master? You truly suppressed everyone else. This little sister is impressed. In the 9th pavilion, there was a woman in a purple dress. Her skin was like jade, and she had a heavenly fragrance. She looked at Lu Ming with her beautiful eyes and a sweet smile. She was extremely beautiful. Lu Ming. Su Ran. Lu Ming and Su Ran cupped their fists. This little girl is Ziling. Please sit down. Ziling will pour wine for you too. Ziling said. Miss Ziling, you're too polite. This time, I'm here to help Brother Su. Brother Su admires the Jade Lake Saint a lot. Lu Ming smiled slightly and pushed Su Ran forward. You're too kind. I'm just here to gain some experience. Su Ran quickly declined. He knew very well that with his talent, the Jade Lake Saint would not take a fancy to him. He was only here to experience and join in the fun. He did not expect that Lu Ming would bring him to the pavilion and sit at the same table with the Jade Lake Saint. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel a little helpless. The two of you are so reluctant. It seems that Ziling's charm is not enough to enter the eyes of the two young masters. Ziling sighed slightly, and her eyes revealed a hidden bitterness. Ziling was originally a national beauty, and with such an expression, it was really tempting. Any man would be moved. Lady Ziling, you misunderstand, Su Ran said hurriedly. Lu Ming also revealed a trace of embarrassment. Then Ziling smiled and said, I was just joking with you too. Come, it's our first time meeting. Here is a toast to you too. Lu Ming and Su Ran picked up their glasses and downed their drinks. Ziling was very talkative. She quickly broke the awkward atmosphere and had a good chat with Lu Ming and Su Ran. Obviously, the Jade Lake Saintess had received special training, and dealing with people was one of them. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many peerless talents who had fallen under the Jade Lake Saintess' skirt since ancient times. Outside the pavilion, many people were envious. Who wouldn't want to drink and chat with the Jade Lake Saint? It was the same in the other pavilions, and they were having a good time. After 3 rounds of wine, 2 jade tokens appeared in Ziling's hands. She handed them to Lu Ming and Su Ran and said, It's getting late, and Ziling is going back to cultivate. If you two have time in the future, you can send a message to Ziling, or come to the Jade Pool Celestial Palace as a guest. Lu Ming and Su Ran took the jade cards. Definitely. I'll take my leave then. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the pavilion. Su Ran also left the pavilion, somewhat reluctant to leave. What's wrong? Are you moved? Lu Ming smiled. Sigh, with Miss Ziling's talent, why would she be interested in me? There are more people competing to be a guardian. If it's you, Lu Ming, it's possible. Su Ran sighed. Of course, it wasn't that easy to become a guardian. All he had to do was step into a pavilion. Today, the Holy Virgin of the Jade Lake had come to this world, and he just wanted to make some friends. In the future, they would have to spend more time together, and the other elites could compete with each other. In the end, they could win the Bowtie's heart and become the real guardian of the Jade Lake Saint. It's impossible for me. Lu Ming smiled. He had come here to seek help from the Holy Land's forces, not to pick up girls. When the people in the 9 pavilions left, the space rippled again. Then, the 9 pavilions and the Jade Lake Immortal Palace all disappeared into the void. A small world, Lu Ming muttered. Emperor-level experts Saint Hearts could condense a small world that was like a real world. The Jade Lake Divine Palace probably had many Emperor-level experts. It was very normal for them to have small worlds. In fact, many Emperor-ranked forces only had their headquarters on the surface, but it was not their true core. The true core was the small world of the Emperor-ranked powerhouses. It was definitely more mysterious and vast than the mountain and river diagram. After all, the mountain and river diagram was only a treasure created by an Emperor-level expert. Brat, stop. Just as the two of them were about to leave, a cold voice was heard. Two golden lights flashed and two figures appeared in front of Lu Ming, the Golden Crow's 10th and 9th princes. Brat, how dare you insult the Golden Crow race? You are courting death. Kneel down and apologize now. The 9th prince of the Golden Crow said coldly. He was dressed in a golden robe, and his body was covered in golden solar fire, burning and distorting the space. After beating the small one, a big one will come. I wonder if an old one will come after beating the big one. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly, and he said in disdain, arrogant. Do you think you're my 9th brother's match? The 10th Golden Crow prince called out. Chapter 1747. 1747 Meeting Feng Ling again. The Golden Crow 10th prince clamored. The Golden Crow race was proud to begin with, let alone the crown prince of the Golden Crow race. As for the 10th Golden Crow prince, he had suffered at Lu Ming's hands time and time again, in the 100-clan battlefield. Now that he had become a saint, he was also crushed by Lu Ming. He had a strong desire to kill Lu Ming. However, although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he did not think that Lu Ming could fight against his 9th brother. The 9th prince of the Golden Crow had reached the peak of the Bright Saint realm. His mastery of the divine ability was also very profound. His combat strength was many times stronger than his. He believed that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. It's just a sick bird. I can suppress it with a flip of my hand. Lu Ming said calmly. Hee kid, you're very arrogant. I'd like to see if you have the capital to be arrogant. The eyes of the 9th prince of the Golden Crow flickered with a cold light. The fire of the great sun burned on his body, like the sun of the sun. His powerful aura pressed toward Lu Ming. But Lu Ming was like a Buddha's face in the spring breeze, and did not feel anything. The commotion here attracted the attention of the other people in the surroundings, and they all looked over. After beating the small one, the big one comes. The Golden Crow race is getting more and more shameless. At this moment a voice rang out. The voice was crisp and clear, and it was clearly a woman's voice. The 9th and 10th Golden Crow princes' faces darkened as they looked in the direction of the voice. Two women stepped on the air and arrived. One of the women was wearing a phoenix dress. She had a graceful figure and was extremely beautiful. A phoenix spirit. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was about to look for Huang Ling, and did not expect to meet her here. The girl beside Huang Ling was wearing a long green dress. She had a round face and jade-like skin. She was also very beautiful, and was not much worse than Huang Ling. The two women stepped on the air like fairies descending to the mortal world, attracting everyone's attention. Who are these two beautiful women? Especially the one in the phoenix dress. She's even more beautiful than the Jade Lake Saint. Of course, she's the most beautiful woman in the Phoenix Palace, Huang Ling. Of course she's beautiful. The other woman isn't much worse. She's the heaven's favorite of the pure snow pavilion, Mu Qingxue. Discussions could be heard from all around. Huang Ling and Mu Qingxue came to Lu Ming's side. What are you looking at? And you're staring at me with your eyes wide open. Do you want to eat me? If you have the ability, come at me. Mu Qingxue's big eyes glared at the 9th and 10th Golden Crow Prince as she spoke in a tender voice. The voice just now had come from Mu Qingxue. Huang Ling, Mu Qingxue, are you two trying to meddle in my business? The 9th Prince of the Golden Crow said in a cold voice. Lu Ming is my friend. What do you mean by being a busybody? If you want to attack him, I naturally have to interfere. Huang Ling said with a smile. The 9th Prince of the Golden Crow had a serious look in his eyes. Although Huang Ling's cultivation was weaker than his, only at the greater mastery of the Bright Saint realm, her body constitution was extremely terrifying. If he were to really fight her, He had no confidence. What's more, Mu King's combat strength wasn't weaker than his at all. If they fought, he would most likely be at a disadvantage. Kid, you're lucky, but you can't be so lucky every time. 10th brother, let's go. With that, the Golden Crow 10th prince and the other two turned into two streaks of golden light and left. Good luck. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not comment. After the 9th prince of the Golden Crow left, Huang Ling looked at Lu Ming. She blinked a few times and smiled. The power of a beauty is really great. Lu Ming. It seems like even heroes can't overcome the charms of a beauty and the Jade Lake Saint. Clearly, Huang Ling had seen Lu Ming's drinking and chit-chatting with the Jade Lake Saint on the 9th pavilion. Lu Ming smiled awkwardly. Don't misunderstand. I'm here to accompany Su Ran. I'm here to help her. Is that so? Huang Ling pursed her lips and smiled. You are Lu Ming. Mu King's eyes widened as she sized Lu Ming up and down. Then she said, You're not bad looking. Your combat strength and cultivation are not bad either. No wonder Huang Ling misses you so much. Qingxue, don't spout nonsense. I didn't. Huang Ling's smiling face immediately turned red as she glared at Mu Qingxue. Oh, didn't he? I might have remembered it wrong. Mu Qingxue revealed a sly look and then laughed. Huang Ling's face turned even redder and she quickly changed the topic. Lu Ming, why did you suddenly come to the ancient Moon Holy Land? Of course, I'm here to see you because I miss our beauty, Huang Ling. Mu Qingxue interjected from the side. Mu Qingxue obviously liked to joke, which made Huang Ling's face and neck blush. Huang Ling is so beautiful. Of course, I'd like to come here earlier to take a look. However, I'm here for another important matter. Lu Ming smiled. Oh, what's the matter? Huang Ling asked. Regarding Evil Spirit Sect, Song Province has been occupied by them. Not only Tsong Province, but also Cloud Province and Emperor Province. I came here this time to ask for help from the powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land. Lu Ming said. Evil Spirit. Huang Ling and Mu King's expressions changed at the same time. Lu Ming, let's go to the Phoenix Palace first. We'll talk as we walk, said Huang Ling. Lu Ming nodded, and the four of them headed toward the Phoenix Palace. On the way, Lu Ming briefly explained what had happened in the Azure Continent. Phoenix Spirit, I wonder if Phoenix Palace can send experts to annihilate Evil Spirit? Finally Lu Ming asked. Huang Ling frowned and said, Lu Ming, according to what you've said, Evil Spirit Cult and the Emperor family have cooperated to kill Emperor Yin in one fell swoop. They must be very powerful, and have at least 2 Emperor-level experts. If Phoenix Palace wants to send people, they must send at least 4 or 5 Emperor-level experts. I don't have the authority to send such experts. Lu Ming nodded. He naturally understood this. Emperor-level experts were high and mighty, they could rule a region. How could they be ordered around by a mere saint? In the Phoenix Palace, the only one who has this power is the Palace Master. Huang Ling said. How can I meet the Palace Master of Phoenix Palace? Lu Ming asked. The Palace Master's cultivation is profound, and she's always in seclusion. Even other monarch-ranked experts find it difficult to meet her, let alone me. The number of times I've met her is less than 3, Huang Ling explained. Emperor-level figures were rarely seen. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. He had long guessed that it would not be so easy to ask for help from the major forces in the Holy Land. The main reason was that their strength was low. It was too difficult to meet with those Emperor-ranked experts unless they took the initiative to come and see you. I have a way for you to meet the Phoenix Palace's master, Mu Qingxue said at this time. What is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. In another month, some of the holy maidens and holy sons of the Phoenix Palace will enter a phoenix's nest to fight for a treasure. If you can help Feng Ling get that treasure, the Phoenix Palace master might summon you, Mu Qingxue said. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.